And we are live. It's Mojo Blues and Gray Wolf Gamer here for another exciting podcast. We're going to be discussing some Xbox Series X, S, and PS5 news, as
Yep.
well as some talk
Smash
some good movie
Brothers.
stuff. Smash Brothers. Oh yeah. So it's all good. So let's
Awesome.
just jump right in. Let's start talking some very boring SSD talk. For a year, that's all we've heard from the Sony people about their godly SSD. And
Right.
wow, and then Xbox will actually boot up faster. I don't think it's ever going to load games faster. I think that's still going to be Sony, but hey, it boots up faster, so that's it was. Yeah, there was some ponies crying on the internet today. Holy cow! When people put that little clip on there, but
I'm really surprised people are shocked at how much those NVE those cards are going to cost. They're ridiculously expensive. They always have been. They always, this is known from the get go. And I knew it was going to be way more expensive than what Microsoft's solution was. And I don't know why people are so surprised, but I guess it's the internet. People will complain about everything and anything.
yeah, I think that the PS5, because it's not just going to be a card. Like Microsoft's interesting take on it was um, they've got a card,
Right.
and Sony, I don't know that they're going to have that. I think you're going to be popping in a whole drive, and I hope that's not the case. Because if that is the case, you're actually replacing the internal one, and that means you got to have a 2 terabyte one. So that thing could be. They may not even have anything for sale for a couple of years. If that's the case. If they're going to be 2 terabytes, because it would be way too expensive right now to sell something like that. But no one knows because Sony's not said anything yet, so we don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Sony has been so quiet about everything, even the stuff that might even be an advantage. They've just been just quiet, and it's just not good. I was watching one of the podcasts you were on the day. I think it was actually on Xbox podcast, and they had a gentleman that was talking about how Sony should just throw it out on the table. Just show it. And I agree with that. I mean, Xbox is doing it. I mean, there are Series X's all over the wild now. I mean,
There's some wild rumor and some educated conjecture from people like King David that thinks that the reason they haven't showed anything yet is because they're just not ready. And when this thing shipped, they're only going to ship a handful of them just so they can claim, hey, we ship the same time as their competitor. But the truth is, they won't really start shipping these puppies out until probably about March of next year.
yeah, I'm seeing that more and more on
Yeah,
my end too.
and now who knows whether that's 5,000 or 500,000 they're shipping out on the 12th. No one knows. They're not going to ever tell.
No,
But here's the thing: they're still saying they're on track to get 11 million by the end of the fiscal year for them, which is like next.
probably June, I think.
Yeah, somewhere around. I was going to say the end of April or May, but I don't know exactly when it is. But it tells me that if they're going to do that, they're going to have to start getting these puppies out early February, no later than March. If they're going to ship, and I don't even know if they'll ship. Depends on how many they ship this year, to be honest. And so I don't know that number.
Right.
Who knows how many they'll have to make up next year to hit that 11 million. But they'll get them out. I mean, and they'll be fine. People will still buy them, and ain't nobody going to cancel their pre-orders, even if they got to wait till 3 months into next year before they
Right.
get their. They're going to keep them. That's the way Sony fanboys are, and you know what? That's a good thing. And, Nintendo's are the same way.
Oh,
If
yeah.
this was on the other hand, if this was Xbox, they had all already would have canceled their friggin' pre-orders by now, guaranteed, and they'd be bragging about it all over the internet.
Yeah, probably right. That's true.
But yeah, it's Xbox has done everything right,
Oh, yeah.
other than one game that got delayed, and then there's nothing wrong with delaying a game. So I don't want to hear any
No,
crap
I
about Halo.
I know it's been quoted ad nauseum and to death, but like Miyamoto said, Delayed game is eventually good. Bad game is bad forever. So, I mean, that's not quite verbatim, but, roughly.
Yeah.
It's true. I'd rather have a delay. I'm okay. I'm okay waiting a year or two. I don't care. If it's an awesome game, if it's an incredible experience, dude, take your time. I don't care how long it takes.
Yeah, it's not going to be a year or two. It's just going to be a few
Oh,
months.
I know.
I think they'll be out by the summer. And because I think there's some big games coming for next holiday that's going to be coming from Bethesda. So,
oh, yeah.
I just got a feeling that they, they're not going to release two big games right together. They got to have at least a month apart. So I'm thinking you're looking at summer or maybe that 20th anniversary of the first Halo or whatever. That's pretty early. So maybe not the end. Maybe like Spider-Man fell originally in 2018 October, and then the big Bethesda game sometime in November of next year. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. Stuff like that, I don't claim any. I just know that every year, come November, you're getting a Call of Duty. I know that.
That's a given. Yeah.
Yeah. That happens.
To that. You can set your calendar to that, actually.
Yeah. I only said that because on my television, there's a Call of Duty commercial right now.
Speak of the devil.
Yeah. Still got like 30-something seconds. It's pretty decent looking little commercial on the internet for it. But yeah. Everybody used to bitch about how Call of Duty used, a crap engine and the graphics suck, but whatever they've done in the last couple of years, man, those games look pretty good to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I never thought the graphic. I mean, I'll admit, I'm not a true Call of Duty fan. I appreciate them, but to me, they're just the same old to me. A lot of people would disagree.
Some of the campaigns, and then I never go back.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't play them.
In terms of graphics, in terms of just how smooth they are, they've always been impressive. I mean, I think, because they've always strived for 60 frames a second on anything. And that to me is more important than, half all the other stuff. But they've had layers and layers of stuff in, and it's just a trip now. You play the campaign, it's just a wild trip, and then you're done. Some people love this multiplayer. That's awesome. But me, I'm not much of a multiplayer fan for that anyway.
I'd like to tell a story. I'd went quite a while where I wasn't playing much games. I'd been in Korea, and then I still had consoles, and my oldest son by then was already playing everything. He was knee deep into WoW, and he was an early WoW guy back in somewhere in the 2000s. I don't know what year it was, but anyway, I hadn't been gaming that much, and we rotated. I came back to the States, and had been back already a while, and the Xbox One had come out, and I had it, and I think it was Call of Duty anyway, but it could have been some other first-person shooter. I'm pretty sure it was a Call of Duty game, but it could have been something else. I don't know, but man, I wasn't in it 30 seconds, and somebody like fucking shot me in the face, and and was teabagging me and screaming about how he was coming over to my house to fuck my mama that night. And it sounded like about an 8-year-old, and it was like, I just shut off the box and said, man, I'm too old. I can't be playing these online first-person shooters anymore. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, that's my experience too. I mean, maybe not word for word, but it just the trash talking got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I can't even compete, because as soon as I spawn, I'm dead. It's like, what? Because they camp around the spawn points, and it's like, okay. I mean, and it's not even where you could spawn and get a weapon. No. You're you start with the standard pistol, whatever, and then it's like, oh, hey, look, there's a guy with a rocket launcher. Yeah, I'm not going to survive this.
Yeah, like I said, I don't remember what game it was. It could have even been. I
hate to say it, they're all kind of the same. But
yeah.
I mean, I do enjoy Doom and all that. At least even the single player. Doom has always been my game for first persons. I've enjoy very much the single player campaign of just blasting demons and things.
Yeah, I don't mind as long as it's single player. I was just talking online stuff against.
No, I know.
My gaming skills are just not.
Yeah, same here.
what they used to be. Not that they were ever that good, to be honest. I can remember taking like 3 weeks to beat Super Mario Brothers 3. Literally 3 weeks. No, I was only playing a couple hours a night at most, and because I was working and I had to get up and had a baby and all that stuff. So I wasn't getting a whole lot of gaming time, but it still took me about 3 weeks before I completed that fucker.
That was my game when I had chicken pox as a child. Like, I had nothing to do. I was home from school for a good week, and I just pounded that game constantly every day until I beat it. And it was a good experience in the sense that it really took my mind off of all the itchy.
Yeah, see, I was already about 23, 24 when that thing came out. Actually, no, it might have been. I think when I beat it, it had been out a while. It wasn't like it was new. Yeah, because I think I already had a Super Nintendo by then and a Genesis. But I just never completed Super Mario Brothers 3 for whatever reason. I don't know, but that's when I beat it because I was living down in Panama at the time, and yeah.
It's still my favorite Mario game of all time. I mean, I like World and all that, and that's a close second. But Mario 3 is like the game. That's just the pinnacle of Mario.
Yeah, I was happy I beat it on the original NES because I went back and played it later on other Nintendo consoles, and they made it look a little better and stuff. But I don't know, there was just something about playing it on that
original. Oh yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things about remasters. Like, they're cool, and some of them are technically better, but something about the original, it's special. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I agree with you there.
Yeah, I still got one, and technically, I have every game that ever came out for it. Only because I got a EverDrive, which mine want to stop talking about those. They just busted that one pirating outfit.
Oh yeah,
I can't even think of their name now. I had it. I meant to write it down because I don't go to those kind of sites and things. Although many years ago I went to similar sites, but it wasn't these guys, and downloaded the ROMs for basically every console that was cartridge based, and even some disc based ones like Sega CD, Sega Saturn, and PS1. But from PS2 and beyond, I'm like, no, you got to figure this is years ago, and the internet wasn't. Now I guess I could probably go on and download those games pretty easy, but back then it took forever to download PS2 and bigger games. But I did get some Dreamcast stuff downloaded too. But anyway, yeah, they arrested the main two guys. I shouldn't say main two, or two of the main guys, but there's a bunch more of them. I mean, they were a pretty big operation, and they even sold crap on Amazon. Those True Blue minis, I've got like 4 or 5 of those. They're dirt cheap, and you get a USB extender thing with each one you order, which is crazy. So you plug that into your PS1 mini, because you have to eat up one of the jacks to controller jacks when you plug in the True Blue thing. So they give you like a little extender thing that gives you like 4 extra ones or 5 extra. I don't know. It's a bunch, but you get one of those with every little thumb drive or thumbstick you order. And they're full of a bunch of games, and they play fine on the mini. And I always thought that was strange, because I'm like, now I get it when they do it with an EverDrive, because you're ordering those EverDrives from specific sites, generally like from the guy that made them in Russia. I mean, he don't sell you no games. You just get the damn drive, and then you got to go online and find your own ROMs.
Right.
He don't sell you nothing illegal. Okay, he just don't. And so they can't ever come after him or do anything. But
the group, by the way, was called Team Executor.
Yeah, Team Execute. Yeah. Or Team Executor.
Yep.
But regardless, yeah, they made a lot of money. And the big thing was, I don't think nobody gave a shit about the True Blue minis. because they were just doing PS1 games and they're selling on Amazon. I mean, are they coming out Bezos or whatever his name is that runs Amazon? Let's arrest him.
Yeah, good luck
He's
with that.
selling pirated games right on his damn Amazon. But anyway,
he'll just have to throw one of his own products at them. Apparently they explode. But
I'm glad I bought those when I did, because those things will disappear. I didn't even look on Amazon today if they're still there, but they're going to go away.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the reason those guys got arrested. Okay, they've been hacking switches big time. And that's the main reason. Nintendo don't play around when you start pirating their shit. Again, dead consoles, it's cool. Nobody cares. That's why EverDrives are so great. You can still go to sites, many sites on the internet, download ROMs. And those ROMs are there because you may already own the game and you don't have any way of ripping that to a backup. So they post ROMs and you're supposed to already own the game and you download just the ROMs that you own. And you're all nice and legal. Here's the thing, though. No one cares. It's for dead consoles. But you start hacking a current one like this Switch, they're gonna come after you sooner or later. And they did. And they got the two main guys. Now, I guess one dude's still the third of the main three is like in China, and they're not getting him.
Yeah.
But unless he comes out of China, they'll be watching him. But he may just stay over there. Who knows?
Well, he's stuck now. I mean,
yeah, but he's filthy rich, so I don't think he cares.
True.
Rich is rich no matter where you're at in the world. They still live real well, trust me.
Oh, I know it. I've seen it. But so also, if I may, in other news, they announced Minecraft Steve for Smash Brothers.
Yeah, and for like 2 minutes, the internet blew up. It's crazy.
I'm personally happy about it. I was hoping that they'd put him in, and they did, along with a whole bunch of others. The other thing is they also, interestingly enough, they kind of added Travis Touchdown, but as a sword fighter costume as well. Because a lot of people wanted Travis in Smash as well, so he's kind of in it. Not as big as Minecraft that gets its own stage, its own music and everything, but that's kind of a cool thing too. Because I like Travis.
I think there's going to be more going on with that deal with Minecraft.
Yeah, apparently
see some Nintendo characters show up in Minecraft itself.
Maybe because they've been apparently this started 5 years ago. This deal, so it took 5 years to get to this point. That's crazy. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's kind of cool. I think it's good stuff, very positive stuff, and I like the collaboration. It's just really neat to see. Of course, now everybody wants Master Chief in Smash, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
that's a bit more.
Supposedly,
Minecraft
the character has to have already appeared on the Nintendo console, and
although technically Cloud appeared in Smash Brothers before they released Final Fantasy VII, so who knows? I don't think it's going to be Master Chief. I think that's just wishful thinking. But the fact that they got Banjo-Kazooie and then they got Minecraft Steve is a big deal to me. And even Cuphead's represented, from the Mii costumes, which is nice. So
here's how bad I am. I didn't even know Steve was in Minecraft. I didn't know what he was called. I've never played Minecraft. I know my youngest son, who's not young anymore, but when he was much smaller, I guess watched some Minecraft. I don't know how much he was actually playing, but he used to watch it on YouTube way back when. Like way back when, before Microsoft bought them. Or maybe just in that time frame. No, it was before. Yeah, it was definitely before.
Yeah, I've played it a little bit. I can't say I've created anything special, but I know enough about it to be dangerous. So But I think it fits well in Smash Brothers. Found it interesting too that they apparently have to rework all the stages to allow for the blocks to be built, which is weird. So I'm curious what that means or how that's going to play out. Apparently, it's a daunting task. That's all I know.
Yeah, I don't know how they make anything on that game and stuff. Never cared about it. When I heard Microsoft had bought them, I thought that was stupid. And then why are they spending that kind of money? And it turned out that I was the stupid one. They knew exactly what they were doing.
No, they did.
I made their money back. But they've made a crap ton of money since then off of it. So.
No, they knew what they were doing with Bethesda. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, we can talk about. We don't need not so much that deal because we talked to that pretty good last week, but what else is coming, and I don't think anything is going to get announced anytime soon. But I do believe there's 3 or 4 more studios coming. Stuff like Sobo, and I don't think we're going to see that big one. They're not going to get a Capcom or a Sega.
No.
Cool as that would be, I just don't see it happening.
People don't realize how big Sega is. I know this has been said on a lot of podcasts, but it's true. Sega is more also than just games. They have hotels. Yeah. They've got all sorts of stuff. So, Sega isn't going to be an easy acquisition. Plus, it's a Japanese company. All the other, so far, everything Microsoft's done is either in Europe or US. I don't think they've bought anything in Japan yet.
Well, they got one Japanese dev when they bought Bethesda.
Yeah, but it's still technically a subsidiary of the parent company, which is still a U.S. company.
Right. So now that Japanese dev or Japanese company can buy other Japanese companies really easy. So Microsoft don't even have to jump through the hoops because you have to have somebody. Part of the rules is the Japanese person has to be X amount of ownership of it. There's all kinds of hoops you got to jump through, and now all that's going to be much simpler.
They know what they're doing. I mean, they're like a multi-trillion-dollar company. They they know exactly what they're doing. So we'll see. We'll see who they acquire next. But my only fear is that this may, if they're not careful. I mean, it's fine they're snatching these companies up. No problem there. But I hate to see Sony start to do it, and then all of a sudden now we only have really 2 major or 3 major companies, and we don't have any more Capcoms or Konamis anymore because they're all Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. I feel like that would hurt the game industry if it really got to that point. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I mean, we don't know yet. I don't see that quite getting that bad, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, it kind of happened before when all of a sudden EA and Activision got so big and they started buying up devs left and right. I mean, this goes always back to the late 90s. They had their hit games where that's all they were was a developer, and then they started getting their games, on various systems, but started publishing them, and then they started buying other companies, and this happened once before, basically, and then it just became the norm. I mean, there was some big, giant publishing houses like EA, like Activision, Sony, then Microsoft, Nintendo's one, and then you have a bunch of independents, and there was some mid-level devs in there too, but not as many as people think. So
no. Game industry is a rough one. It's a rough business. I mean, you're always one game away from going bankrupt.
Yeah.
One misstep, that's it. It's done. That's hard. So I have total respect for, especially the indies that they come out with a game. It's just their game. It's pure, and in my eyes, it's pure. Just the heart and soul poured into it. But what sucks is if it doesn't do well, if their next game doesn't do well, they're gone, and that hurts to see. But that's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. These games cost so much to make now.
Yeah, it's crazy, and then the time it takes to make some of these games is outrageous.
I mean, look, they have to split up Final. I'm sorry.
That's why Microsoft has to buy so many to keep stuff in Game Pass. They
Oh
need
yeah,
more. 23 is not going to be enough. I think eventually they're going to hit about somewhere around 30 studios with probably up to 50 teams working on various games, and then they'll be able to keep that nice clip of hitting a banger every 3 months or whatever they want.
right.
And then in between months, it'll just be double A and single A games, or double A and indie games. I guess they don't call them single A anymore, just indie. Well,
But
who
still,
knows?
no, I agree. I think that it's a good way. I mean, you're right. It just takes so long, and yeah, I think that eventually they'll get to that point. But I think it's a good thing because then they'll have the constant hot games that are coming out and a steady stream. And if anything, it'll light a fire under Nintendo and
Well,
Sony, and they'll
it'll
have their
keep
own
them
thing.
from ever
Yeah,
having a hole in their schedule. If
exactly.
two or three games get delayed, it will be okay because there'll plenty of other ones take their spot in that calendar. Hey, can you guys move up a couple months? We just got some serious delays from such and such. No, we can't. All right, hang on. They call somebody else. Hey, or they move a whole studio over to, hey, we just need you guys to do support right now. Hold off on your game. We need you to go help them finish theirs because they're due out, and help them go gold and that kind of thing. They're gonna be so well stocked at that.
Right. Oh, definitely. Like I said, I think it's some good. I think this generation is going to be pretty awesome. And I know I said this like every week for the past 4 weeks, but still, I really feel that way. Just give it a year, and you'll just start seeing more and more and more. 2021, 2022, 2023. It'll just, it'll be amazing.
Yeah, and I think we'll see some companies go away, especially for the cloud stuff. I just maybe it'll end up just being Microsoft and Amazon. Google will probably implode at some point. I really believe that. And, maybe
I,
Sony will jump into the
I
cloud
keep
thing.
forgetting the strategy is a thing.
Yeah,
Every now and then it pops up like, oh, yeah, that. Yeah.
I mean
So,
if they're willing to not have it make a huge profit for them for a long time, if they just hang on to it, eventually they'll be okay, I guess. But they've just not been known to be that patient. In fact, I'm
no.
shocked. It's been over a year now, and they're still behind it, and they still advertise here and there. I mean, at least on YouTube they advertise. I don't know about regular television. I don't watch a whole lot of regular television anymore, so
I haven't seen anything. I mean, not that I watch a lot of TV, but in terms of commercials, I haven't seen anything. So, I think YouTube is the primary.
yeah, that's YouTube's. That's all I watch anymore. Anyway, I don't even have cable anymore. I just have my internet through the cable company, but I
And I
don't
admit,
get any
I
channel.
actually paid for the YouTube Premium, so I don't even see the commercials on YouTube anymore.
There you go.
I just couldn't
It's
stand
not a
it. I
bad
watch.
idea. Yeah, I'm.
It's.
That's
I think it's worth
more
it.
than worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really, you don't get any commercials, so you can watch any video nonstop to your heart's content. So for 13 a month, it's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I've had the Disney one free for about 8-9 months now, and I get it for a full year because I had the Verizon account,
Oh,
and
cool.
but when that ends, I'm going to start paying for that because then you get their triple thing, so it gives you uh,
Hulu and
yeah,
ESPN.
Disney,
Yeah.
Hulu, and ESPN. So I'm going to pay for that, and then I already get Netflix. But I don't think I'm going to go back to Prime as much as I kind of want to. But it's always bothered me that Prime had about half their shit hidden behind paywalls. If you
I
go to
know.
Amazon Prime, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can't watch unless you buy an extra subscription. And I was never cool with that. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I already paid for Prime. Now I got to pay for just because I want to watch some crap British TV detective shows, which I really love. I'm like, but and Prime put a crap ton of them behind a paywall, and I've never forgiven them for that. But yeah, so screw Amazon.
Yeah.
You get so much with Netflix anyway, and then although that HBO one's looking pretty good too, but again, I don't
We
know.
have it. Well, we have HBO, so we get it because we subscribe to the actual channel. It is worth it. It does a lot of good stuff on it. So that's my recommendation for what it's worth.
Well, I mean, if you get HBO, I don't understand why you'd want the stream version of it, but other than I guess
Well,
you can watch what you
convenience.
want when you want.
But the thing is, it comes with it, so it's not like it's either
Yeah, you're
or
not
you pay
paying for
extra.
it.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I had it
it's
that way before when it used to be HBO Go, I think.
yeah, that was the old one.
I
Yeah,
had it and Cinemax free, and I never ever used those. A couple times I tried to set them up on my phone, and then like 2 months later, those apps wasn't working, and I was just like, well, who cares? I'll just go watch Cinemax or HBO if I want to watch them. Back then, I don't know. I didn't care much for streaming, but then at some point, I just got hooked on Netflix, and the whole binge watching, and it was weird because I was already back early in DVD's lifespan where they put whole seasons of TV shows out on DVD. I was into doing that and binge watching shows, so it was just natural when Netflix started doing it. That yeah,
right.
and I
Well, I'm
still
just
prefer
glad.
watching it that way.
Yeah, I'm just glad Cobra Kai is on Netflix now, and it's doing really good. I mean, that's one of my favorites currently. That was on YouTube Premium. That's one of the
Yeah,
reasons I got YouTube Premium. But since they kind of rolled back their shows, just the scripted shows, I've kept it just for the no commercials, and it's still worth it for that. So, but
speaking of movies,
yeah,
I'd like to bring up, since it's Halloween and I'm on a B movie kick, um, a good pair for people to try to hunt down. The Faculty by Robert Rodriguez,
that's a good
which
one.
is his one attempt to do a mainline, I don't know, horror, thriller, whatever, but more studio-esque picture. After that, I guess he did like being told what to do and what not to do, so he basically opened his own studio in Austin, Texas. And a lot of the movies he's produced or directed, he made it his own studio. And even when he made them in other places, they were a lot of times it's still under his banner. And yeah, but it's a good movie to go with that for a double feature is Disturbing Behavior, directed by David Nutter. He did a few X-Files episodes and even done some Game of Thrones episodes recently. But this was his one big movie, and it's a great movie. But now the powers that be at the studio at that time really screwed it up. They said they loved it, and they put it in front of test audiences, which they loved it. Why do they need to put it in front of test audiences? But the first test audiences loved it, and they put it in front of another test audience, and a few people didn't like certain parts. So anything they didn't like, they kept making him change. And after about the fifth or sixth times, they had screwed the movie up royally. And so there's never been a true director's cut released because that studio owns the rights to that stuff, and nobody knows. I don't know if they even know where the original
Yeah,
cut is. That happens to a lot of even great filmmakers like Frankenheimer when he did the Affleck Christmas movie. Oh crap! Now it just jumped out of my head. It's the one that's got Throne in it, and they go to rob a casino. And a bunch of guys dressed as Santa Clauses, but it's a great movie.
yeah, that's a good. I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the
But
name. Off the top of my
studio just fucked it up, and they later on did kind of release kind of sort of released his version on a director's cut, but it wasn't completely. But it was the closest it'll ever get, and it that kind of stuff broke his heart. He was like, you know what, he didn't, he didn't make but another couple movies after that, and he died not too long after that. But yeah, it was disheartening to see a director of that stature getting screwed around with test audiences, and that's where you get an idiot like me watching it and then going, no, they should do this or that. Now, they're not listening to this guy that's won Academy Awards, one of the great filmmakers of the 60s and 70s. No, they're not. They're going to listen to idiots. Oh, yeah, what is wrong with studios sometimes? But anyway, yeah, they screwed up Nutter's movie, Disturbing Behavior, pretty bad. But even at that, it's the DVD is worth watching. Although, like I said, there's no director's cut. I think a lot of that footage was lost, but he was able to come in under budget because he'd already filmed a bunch of X-Files crap up in Vancouver, and he knew where the best places to film. So the stuff you see up on the screen, that's where the money went. It didn't get wasted with, crazy expensive sets or stupid CGI. It's just a really good movie, and both of them. Same thing with the Faculty. Wow.
Faculty, yes.
Yeah, Faculty. Can't even speak. Oh my. And there's nothing similar about the two movies as far as plot or anything like that. They're completely different, other than high school kids are in both of them. But at the same time, there's some stylistic things that are kind of going on in each movie that they just make a great double feature. Much like that Affleck movie I was talking about where they robbed the casino. That's a great Christmas Day movie with Die Hard and Lethal Weapon, the three of them.
Yes.
The perfect triple feature on Christmas Day. Or usually I'll do one or two on Christmas Eve and then the other one Christmas Day. I'm not doing the triple feature like that on either holiday, but I try to watch them every year. They're just great Christmas movies. But it's embarrassing. I can't think of the name of that one, but I could look it up real quick on my phone, but it's not worth it to go that far. Most people know what I'm talking about. It's a really good movie. And that director actually said after the fact that between Throne, Gary Sinise, and Affleck, he said he only had to work with those three actors again the rest of his career. He would love it. He turned out being kind of true on that. He didn't do a whole lot after that movie. I think it was just one more thing. I think it was only a TV movie or something. I can't even remember, but it wasn't. He never did no more big major Hollywood movies after that. He was sad. But Affleck don't get enough credit how good he is. And people forget because all the crap that he took when he was dating that one girl, and they've become like a big couple.
I like Affleck. I think he's a pretty good actor. I've enjoyed a lot of the stuff.
He's a great writer, great director, great actor. He's done some wonderful stuff. I just watched the other night the one where he plays a not retarded, but a savant, or I don't know what you call those people that have like Rain Man.
Oh, Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, but what's that type of person called in real life? So I'm not offensive.
You're asking the wrong person. I'm not sure. A savant, anyway, I guess. With that.
He was like that, and so when he grew up, he ended up being a hitman, but he kind of wasn't a hitman. He was just the accountant's what it's called. Okay. And Affleck didn't direct that one. He didn't write it or anything. He just starred in it. But man, he was good in it, and, playing that kind of character. And I thought he was better than Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man as far as playing that kind of character anyway. But just taken to an unbelievable limit because he ends up killing all kinds of people and can do crazy stuff, even though he's, but whatever. It's a good movie. I love stuff like that. But we're getting off track even on the movies. It's October. It's horror movies and B movie wise, like I said,
Well, I got a couple that I mean I think are pretty good for even though they're it depends on how people feel about them, but I like the original Blair Witch Project. I still think that that was a pretty bizarre and interesting film, especially when it first came out. Another a couple of films that I do like are the Final Destination films. At least the first two or three. The later ones were just okay.
Yeah.
Um,
I just
but
bought it wasn't Final Destination. I just bought a box set of the one where once a year that you're allowed to maim, kill, destroy, and do whatever.
The Purge.
Yeah, I just bought a
Yeah.
box set of the Purge and kind of upset at myself on that because I already own two of them. So I could have just bought the other two, which probably aren't very good. Whatever's the third and fourth one. First
I
two
haven't
are
seen.
pretty good. I like the first two, but
Yeah, the first two. Okay, I haven't seen the third and fourth. I haven't
yeah,
bothered.
well, I
I
have
just
them now, but I've got double copies of one and two. But I don't know what I was thinking. And I knew I had one. I didn't realize I actually had two on Blu-ray. But yeah, that crap happens. And I was going to get a box set of crap. I can't think of the name of it now. It's another really good bunch of horror movies. And they had eight. The Saw movies had eight of them on
yes,
there, but it was like $15 in Blu-ray. And I'm like, man, that's barely a little over $1.20 a movie.
right,
Blu-rays, but it was one of those like Echo Bridge releases, and they were in the wrong aspect ratio. It was
uh,
still widescreen, but they were 16.9 widescreen, which that just fills your TV perfect. But those movies are all shot in the mall standard, which is 185.1, which gives you some black bar at the top and the bottom.
right,
The European standard back in the day was 166.1, which just gave you small bars at the top and bottom. 185.1 gives you a little bit more, and then true widescreen is 235.1, and
right.
that's when we get the big bars, and that's where stuff really looks, spectacular. That's the way movies should be shown. I
I
love movies
agree.
shot in real widescreen, but yeah, by the late 70s into the early 80s, malls started putting in multiplexes inside of malls, and that's when they're like, man, the screens can't be as big. Since they were putting them on smaller screens in the malls, the Academy started allowing, or I shouldn't say allowing, the studio started using 185.1 as their preferred aspect ratio. So that way the screens wasn't nearly as tall. So it fit better in mall theaters and just kind of worked for multiplexes. And of course, now they got multiplexes with 20 something screens in them. It's crazy.
Right.
But you can put a movie on 10, 12 screens because they got to get their money back that opening weekend. As I roll this back into gaming, the big blockbuster AAA games, they got to make their money back in that first week. And they're following that whole Hollywood crap of, yeah, we spent all this money and we got to have our money back instantly. Whereas in gaming, they used to not be a thing to take 2-3 years to
Oh,
break
yeah.
even and start making a profit.
Evergreen titles, they call them. Yeah.
But boy, they went away from that. At some point during the 360 PS3 generation, it all went to got to make that money back within a week or it's a flop and then we're not going to do any more sequels. And yeah, it's sad. I hate that. It got
It's a
worse this generation.
It really did. Plus, I mean, the fact that they pretty much eclipsed Hollywood budgets now for these games. You know,
Oh, yeah.
$200-300 million easy.
Except for a few select Hollywood movies, they don't come close to making what the big games cost now.
Right.
And so I get it. They got to make their money back, with you. But the thing is, it takes 3 to 5 years to make a game. Most movies rarely take more than a year. If you find out a movie took more than a year, it means something went wrong. There was some serious problems. Most shoots, even big budget movies, 10 weeks, 12 weeks tops. Average movies, 5 weeks. Low budget B movies are done in 2-3 weeks, sometimes 2-3 days. They knock them out. But big movies, generally, I would say 2 years. You can't really do it in a year. It's usually about a year once they get through filming, but it takes them to finish the special effects and all that.
Right.
and then a lot of times just to drum up the the buzz before they actually start filming, and as they're getting their financing and all that together, and they're like dropping little hints and other stuff about whatever said project onto the internet. So yeah, it ends up being probably 3 years for the big ones, the Star Wars and the other types of movies. But at the same time, a lot of times it's once you have that one big hit, they want that sequel out 1 year later. Let's be Lord of the Rings, and every December drop that movie, and yeah, that's the way it works.
Right. Well, it's a big difference. I mean, you're talking about something that's scripted from beginning to end versus something that's interactive, or at least it needs to be interactive to some point. So, a lot more goes into that. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
as.
there's probably more people on big games. There's more. Well, no, I don't know. Some of them big Hollywood movies, 200-300 people work on them. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, there's studios. Yeah, you sometimes get up to 1,000, 1,500 people working on a certain game. So yeah, it's even a lot more people and over a long spread out period of time. Which hurts that mid. I miss all those mid-level games that were just as good as triple A's, but they just wasn't humongous like that. And now it's either the big or little independent games. You just don't seem to
Yeah.
get many of them.
The middle ground. Yeah.
So-called double A's. Yeah, they just don't get made anymore. It's either an indie or a triple A. It's very few in that middle range it gets done.
Well, it's a lot of it too is budget. So, I mean, the double A's do cost a lot. So I guess they figure, okay, either we're going to save money and it's dumb it down to, I don't want to say dumb it down because some of the indies are incredible. We'll knock it down to indie level, or we'll just pump more money into it and make it a triple A.
Yeah,
Like one of the two. I forgot what game that was. It was a game that started out as just like one of those mid-level games, and they just said, the hell with it. We'll just pump money into it, and it turned out to be a triple A game. It was a good game. I just can't think of it. I want to say it was one of the Final Fantasies, but I could be wrong. Final Fantasy always been AAA, so I think I'm wrong there. Like an offshoot or something. Oh well, it'll come to me, of course, like 3 a.m. this morning. But wake up in the middle of the night. Oh, that's right, that's the game. um, but yeah, no, I it's crazy now. Like I said, the budgets are just overbloated. I mean, they had to split up. It was purpose. They purposely decided to split up Final Fantasy VII Remake into multiple games because of how big it was. And what's insane is, if I remember correctly, I think it's 2 discs. Just that first part is 2 discs. It's a stupid amount of memory just for Midgar. So I can only imagine when they get to part 2 how big it's going to be, especially once they get to the open world section of Final Fantasy VII, where you can go anywhere. It's more toward the end, but it's there. I'm also curious when they do part 2, how they're going to, allow you to import the prior game stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a mess because it's moving to the new console generations.
Yeah.
You can't even move your saves to PS5, so you're fucked there. If maybe if you waited it out and you just get it on an Xbox and you'd be okay, but you're gonna have to wait. You probably have to wait another year before the second part comes out on Xbox.
Yeah, well, the first part isn't even going to be out until on other systems until March or April because they have a full year exclusivity.
Yeah,
on the PS4.
That's kind of a good thing because now you'll get all the new versions on
the new system.
Series X. Yeah, you won't have to get one for the older system. Whereas all these PS4 people that bought that, they're screwed. They're gonna have to rebuy that game on the PS5. They are. They're just not gonna get free updates.
I know. I'm expecting it. I knew it when I got the game, but I mean I'm happy with it. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good
I'm
for what
happy
they
with the
did.
original. I didn't even need this to be remade, but
And
I mean, I guess it was time. I mean,
I
anything
agree. I
PS1
mean,
era can be
to be honest,
remade.
oh yeah, my favorite. Honestly, my favorite Final Fantasy isn't even PS1. It's on the Super Nintendo. It's Final Fantasy 6. To me, that's the pinnacle of Final Fantasies right there. I know a lot of people started with 7. They love 7. Seven's good. I'm not knocking 7 at all. But my favorite is 6. 6 is like the game. Nothing ever came close to it, in my opinion. So, I also like 9 too. A lot of people didn't like 9, but I like 9.
To be honest, I never cared much for any of the Final Fantasy games. Uh,
That's fine.
I got I played the ones on the Super Nintendo, even though I knew they were numbered wrong, and that always kind of bugged me. And why wouldn't we get all of them, but or remastered ones and whatever from the NES? But they back then remastering wasn't quite what it is now. Sony are the kings of remastering and screwing people to rebuy games. Although Nintendo makes you rebuy their games too and have over the years, but not they're everybody says that and it's true only in the fact that if you bought stuff digitally through the Wii U, you got to rebuy it on the Switch, but and you had to buy stuff from the Wii U that you bought on the Wii. But truly, no, they weren't. They're not near as dirty as Sony is on that. I mean, my God,
people people
9 months.
forget.
Original
Yeah.
lasted remastered 9 months later and made people rebuy it. They're a godforsaken company.
See, the thing is, a lot of people forget about Nintendo is up until the Switch, the Nintendo has been pretty good about backward compatibility. The Wii was fully back, at least the original. When it first came out, the original Wii's were fully backward compatible with the GameCube games, and the Wii U was originally fully backward compatible with the Wii games. Now the Switch is obviously a completely different format, completely different architecture. Plus, it's using the cartridges now, they're not really cartridges; they're like SD cards. But yeah, they're using the cards now versus discs. So it makes sense that you can't play a Wii U game on the Switch because there's no disc drive.
And the GameCube would let you play Game Boy Advance games, which was
Yeah,
cool.
that's that too. The thing is, Nintendo does have a good backward compatibility, and a lot of people think, well, they keep re-releasing the Wii U games on the Switch. Well, I mean, not to justify it, but in a way, yeah, because the Switch is actually a success. The Wii U only sold 13 point something million. We'll round it up to 14. I know I'm being generous with that. 14 million units. Switch is currently at 60 million and going up and up. I think it just finally eclipsed the Nintendo, the first Nintendo, in terms of units sold. So it's I mean, it's still selling like hotcakes. There's a ton of them out there, and it makes sense for them to re-release a lot of their biggest Wii U games on the Switch because a lot of people didn't play them.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
yeah, you could argue that it could be cheaper. All right, that's fair. But at the same time, I don't see a problem with it because more people are getting to
no,
play these games,
yeah,
and it's
I
fun.
don't think people have a problem with all this they're releasing on the Switch because those games just didn't get played. Some of them didn't
Right,
even. Well, some of them sold big, but other ones didn't sell to normal Nintendo numbers. So
right. And it gave them a second life. I mean, they did sell better on the Switch. That's why they keep
no,
releasing them. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Super Mario 3D Land, and the fact that they're including the extra DLC on it is awesome.
yeah,
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what. But yeah, I know Sony just loves doing that. I mean, I've never. It's like The Last of Us remastered. I was okay with that because I never really got The Last of Us on the PlayStation 3. So when I got the PlayStation 4, I picked that up, and I was like, "Oh, I had 60 frames a second and everything." I was like, "Yes, I like this." So it worked for me there, but totally could see, without having an upgrade, like Final Fantasy remake. Yeah, you're probably gonna have to rebuy it again on the PS5, which is stupid. I mean, you can play the backward compatibility mode, okay, but you're not gonna want that. You're gonna want the extra.
oh yeah,
See, unless they suddenly decide, hey, we're giving you free upgrades, which they are with certain games, but not everything.
No, they're not giving free upgrades on anything. Not Sony. Maybe some third party companies are releasing games on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
of. Yeah, Sony and first party is all going to be remasters.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to pay for the remastered God of War and remastered Horizon Zero Dawn. It's it is what it is. Whatever. People don't mind paying it. I don't blame them. You can get away with it.
Yeah,
It's getting harder for them though because of Microsoft's machine just does it for you, and it's pretty amazing. And even the One X to a certain extent did it. And it was awesome to get back and pack games that were upgraded. I love that about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I look forward to. I really want to see. I mean, everyone, of course, is testing out the Xbox One and even some of the 360 games on the X1. I want to see how it handles or how it upscales the original Xbox games. I'm just curious because I got a couple that I would love to see in 4K or at least in higher definition than 640 by 480, or 720p, whatever it was, 480p. I'm just curious if how they'll do that.
The unlocked frame rates, they're going to be 60 on the Series X, and should be some interesting stuff. I'm curious about those little ACA Neo Geo games. Will they do any? Those would have to be something done by the developer. Or I don't think the machine will do those any, because those were all ported over.
Yeah, they're emulated, so they're not really. You might get a clearer picture, but there's really nothing to do with them.
No, not unless the developer goes back in and does something for them.
Yeah,
they're not going to do that. And they sold those things for dirt cheap anyway. They look pretty good. I mean, I've got Neo Geo to play on 30 different ways, and those actually looked and played really well, so I can't complain.
All I ask is that they play as well, or at least look as well, both really, as the original. If they are, I'm good. I don't have to. I mean, it's a clear picture, even on like the newer systems. That's all I ask. So something like that, it doesn't bother me. I mean, I don't see. It seems like it would be wasted to put a 4K on that, because really they don't run at 4K. They might output at 4K, but they don't run in 4K. They're what, 300 by 200 pixels or something.
Out of the One X, it upscales them to 4K, and if it didn't, your TV would if you got a 4K television.
Which, it does.
Either way, they get upscaled. But that's why I'm only bringing this up, because I've argued with some people here recently. And now listen, personally, I don't mind a 1440p game or an 1800p game that uses whatever technique, and there's many different ways they do that, I don't mind that, and then it being in 4K. Even though it's not real 4K. My thing is, and a lot of people just don't seem to get it, is it pisses me off that Sony falsely advertises their shit as 4K when it's not. Okay, you could not put just 4K on the box. You need to be putting 1440p, and then how is it upscaled? Make sure that that's on. When I say the box, I'm talking about the game box.
I know what you mean.
Or if you buy it digitally underneath the little thumbnail of the game, it should say, "Hey, this game runs at 1440p, and it's upscaled to 4K by," and then whatever it means. I'm a big on stuff being native resolution, but it's not. That's fine too. That games look great. I'm not saying they don't look great. I think games look amazing on the Xbox Series X. Things will look amazing on the 1440p ps5. They will. Okay, but they're not native 4K, so don't fucking say it is. That just bugs me.
I know.
And they did it all last gen. The PlayStation. I love Mads Gaming to death, and I'm on his podcast. But we argue over this all the time. He's just happy they're in 60 frames, and he says because if part of the game's in 4K, then they're okay calling it 4K. No, it's not fucking 4K. It's 1440p upscale. You upscale it, it's not native, and there is a difference. And just because you got it in 60 frames, don't make up for that fact. If someone paid $2,000 or $5,000 for a modern big screen 4K television or projector, then they better be getting their fucking game in the correct resolution that's slapped on the box. That's all I'm saying. And I don't mind. I'm not saying that 1440p is bad. I think those games look great. Hell, games that were 720p, I was having them outputted by the 1X at whatever, and then my television was upscaling them to 4K, and they looked great. I never had a problem with that, but Microsoft never lied on theirs. Although by the end of the gen, they were lying too. They started to, well, Sony's not being truthful. We're not either. They started putting 4K on boxes of games that were 18p.
Yeah.
So, and I get it. They use whatever, it's fine. But I'm just, maybe because I'm such a movie guy and I'm big about aspect ratios and that movies are shot in being, most movies aren't put on disc in the correct aspect ratio. People would be shocked to find out how many are actually shot at 235:1, but they only get it at 185:1, or God forbid they get it at 16.9 widescreen. That, God, there's certain studios that used to do that all the time that I just hated.
It's the new pan and scan.
Basically, yeah. And you're not losing very much. It's just that sliver at the top and bottom. When you go from, say, 185:1 to 60.
But the director, I agree with you. If the director intended that sliver to be there for whatever reason, then it should be there.
Would be wider. You're just seeing it blown up a little bit, so those bars disappear. They're still there. You just don't get to see everything anymore. That's how that works, and it just bugs it. But most people would rather lose a little bit of the picture than have those bars. And I'm like, no, that's stupid.
No. I've gotten.
They know that now. The majority, far and away now, put the bars on there, but there's still a lot of stuff. I see all the time. A lot of people don't even realize like the first releasing of the Avengers is in the wrong fucking aspect ratio. That was shot in widescreen. It wasn't shot in 16:9. But the thing is, Josh Whedon was a big TV guy. And so when he shot the Avengers, he shot it in mind for 16:9 television. So it was actually shot 185:1. So there was a little bit extra at the top and the bottom, but nothing ever important. He shot the whole movie that way. Just he had those marked off the top and the bottom, and he kept them out of the frame. And then they released the disc that way, and it was like, well, that's still shitty. You should have shot it 235:1 total widescreen and made it more cinematic. But he was a TV guy, so I kind of understood it. But yeah.
But at least he did it in such a way that you can experience it the way it was meant to be experienced.
Yeah, even though other directors that loved that 16:9, they like that it fits. Cameron, he's always been a big proponent of 16:9. That's what fits a widescreen television. Yet all his movies are widescreen, but
I know.
well, because they're going to be in theaters and widescreen, and it's kind of
right.
But a lot of his stuff initially came to DVD and video. Well, when it's widescreen for a modern HD TVs, it's 16:9. But yeah, give me the bars. Hell, even when they were tube TVs, I loved widescreen movies. Laserdisc was great for that, and you lost some real estate when you had them bars on a tube TV, but it didn't matter. You're still getting that. You're actually seeing more picture. You just wasn't seeing it as big. But it definitely wasn't pan and scan, which was god awful.
I'll never forget when I watched Ghostbusters. Now, I watched it as a child in the movie theater. And I don't, as a child, you don't pay attention to the screen aspect. So, when it came out on VHS, I was like, oh, cool. And I watched it. I didn't realize till years later just how much you lose.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh! It's especially the whole montage where they're first fighting the ghost, and it has the actual magazines that go across the screen. Yeah, you see them running on one side and the magazine article on the other. You completely lose that in pan and scan. You'd see the magazine go across but you never see the magazine cover.
Thing
And it
is, they
was
didn't even allow directors to do that pan and scan stuff. That was just some idiot that was working at the studio, uh, or not even sometimes not even the actual studio that filmed the movie. It was the studio that was releasing it on VHS
yeah,
or early copies of DVD. So when they did, or back in the day, the regular television, it might have been a the company that owned the rights to put the film on television. It wouldn't always be the company that made the movie, is what I'm getting at. It'd just be some guy, and basically he had a couple of monitors, and generally one in the middle, so a lot of times 3 monitors. And then he had like a little joystick control that had like a dotted out square, and wherever he put that square, that's what you were going to see on your television.
right,
And he just, wow, it was, and that was the best way to pan and scan, because at least the guy could keep focused on the main thing. Some pan and scans were not done that well. They were just a fixed boom, this is what they're getting, and the entire movie got that square. They didn't even do the scan part, the pan part of it, or panning it around. That's where the whole pan came from in pan and scan.
right.
But yeah, I'm just big on that kind of thing, and I just don't think you should be able to call your game 4K. It is not native 4K. And I think Xbox will have games this generation that don't hit native 4K. I think that there'll be more than what Sony has, of course, and they'll have games that have that, where the resolution changes. They'll be at it'll probably still be an unlocked frame rate, but to keep that 60 and above frame rate, it'll cause the resolution to dip.
Right.
They're already at 4K. It's not going to dip far below. So you're looking at 21 something down to 1800 on the resolution, which the human eye can rarely tell when that kind of thing happens, if at all. Most people can't.
No, you can't.
And
Unless you're really
you can tell when a game dips from 60 frames down to 30.
Yes.
You get frame drops and you notice it. Even back in the day, I said I don't mind 30 frame games as long as they're not shooters, as long as they're locked 30.
Right.
I can't, and I was not a proponent of uncapped frame rates, because even at 45 or 50, if it was dropping down to 30, I would notice it. It stuttered.
Oh, yeah. It stutters. Yeah, it's terrible. I agree.
But now that turned out to be a good thing, because all those games are automatically going to run at 60 or above on the Series X, which is awesome. And I don't think you're going to get that on the PlayStation 5. That's why they don't talk about it, because you're just going to get the game as it was on the PS4.
Well, I'm going to find out, because one of the games that has an unlocked frame rate is Shenmue 3. And I want to see how that looks on a 5. That's going to be my test, my litmus test.
As long as they keep the resolution at 1440p, you'll get your 60 frames because it's uncapped. But I just don't think it looks like the PS5, depending on the size of the game, it can't do both. It can't do 4K 60. It has to be 1440p, maybe on some games even 1800p. Again, it all depends on the size of the game and how much shit's going on in the game.
Right.
But that at the lower res, you'll get your 60 frames. So they'll have that mode on the disc or your download, and then they'll have the 4K mode, which will probably only be a locked 30. So it's either or, and that's not a big deal. You're still going to, for those frame whores, they're going to be happy, And I guess people like me, I don't play that many shooters anyway, so I don't give a shit what those are. So everything else, I'm okay with being 30. As long as because I prefer 4K, unless it's a certain type of game where you need that smoother motion on screen or quicker action like shooters, where it needs to be 60. But Microsoft, they're not just even saying 60; they're coming through with that 120 on some stuff, and that's amazing. You're not ever going to get that on the PS5. You're just not.
Well, you are in indie stuff, maybe.
I don't even know about that. It's dude, 36 compute units. It would be a massive struggle to do that. It will. I'm just telling you.
I mean, it's still
had the resolution would have to be like 720p or some shit, even on an indie to get 120 frames out of that. And they may do that.
We'll see. It's there's I mean, the compute. There's more compute units in the Xbox, One X, One X. I'm sorry, the Series X, but it's all about architecture too. Unfortunately, that only tells part of the story. So I think if anyone can pull it off, it will be Sony's in-house, like Naughty Dog or something. But I don't think 120 frame per second games are going to be as free as even on the Series X. They're not going to be that common. If they are on there, they're not going to really have ray tracing. I mean, even the high end, and I'm talking about the higher end, and even the Series X graphics
Well, I
cards.
think they'll have the same ray tracing that Sony games have. It's that
Yeah,
global illumination, which is
yeah.
a fake. Well, it's not fake. It's real ray tracing, but it's not the same as what Xbox is doing on games. If it's 4K 60 with ray tracing, you're getting the real deal. If they go to 120 frames, then yeah, you're going to get just a global illumination for the ray tracing. And that's all the
Well,
PS5 can do is global illumination. So it's like there's some big differences in these consoles. There's some people in for some rude awakening. I'm telling you, when Digital
I'm
Foundry
very
starts breaking this shit down.
well. Did you see? I posted a link today for Digital Foundry about ray tracing in general. And they were just noting how at 4K, native 4K on the RTX, I think it's the new one, a 1390, 3090 or 3080. It can't hit 60. Even that card cannot hit 60 at 4K with ray tracing on, unless they reduce the ray tracing resolution. And even then, it's only like a 25% increase. So ray tracing is a very hefty mode, even
Yeah,
on the
the
high
way they're
end
doing
graphics
ray tracing
cards.
for the consoles, it's not nearly as intensive. So and it's not going
I
to be
know.
as good as what can be done on a PC. I don't give a fuck what they do on PC. I don't play PC,
I'm
so I
just
don't
saying.
care.
I know.
I care about
I know. But,
console.
but
And
just as a point of comparison, I think ray tracing. I mean, it's great, but I don't think it's in this generation. I don't think you're going to see it truly be the perfect, 100%,
no,
60 frames a second.
it's a buzzword to help sell consoles.
Yeah.
Both companies are
Now,
going to use
next
it
gen.
heavily and talk about it. But
Yeah.
Sony's 25%, Microsoft's about 75% on the ray tracing, and then the computer cards are like the full blown real deal of using it. And but yeah, ray tracing is hefty. Those animation
Yeah.
movies, the high end ones, the Disney and Pixar and that use that stuff. Holy crap! The amount of computers they have. It's not like they don't just do it with one computer. They have hundreds that are doing it. And,
And it takes like a day to render a frame.
oh, more than yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah, or
it
something like
takes
that.
months to get a movie
Yeah.
rendered.
So, I
It's
mean,
not up to a year or more sometimes on some of those movies before you get it
it'll
all.
get better. It'll always get better. I mean, as things continue to improve. But right now, I think it's just in its infancy. It's cool that they have it. It's definitely looks better than subspace reflections. Ugh, can't spit that one out. But and it's more accurate. But still, yeah. I I know that the Series X will have clearer and better ray tracing, but I don't even then I don't think it's going to be the 100% one to one that everybody thinks it's going to be. I mean, you're not going to exactly have a T1000,
No, I
whole
don't think people
screen of.
think it's going to be that. I think most people know it's not going to be that, except maybe some casuals that don't know any better will pick up a box and it'll say ray tracing, and they might
No
think they're getting
think, yeah.
everything, but it's most real gamers know you're not getting. No, even with 56 compute units, and that means you're only using 52 of them. So you're going to have what 4 or 8 dedicated compute units for the ray tracing, which is still amazing. I mean, because that's why Sony does the global. They don't have the extra compute units to put towards ray tracing. That's why I keep saying Sony's lying when they say that they have hardware accelerated ray tracing. It's not really true. They don't have enough compute units to do that. They're not. It's not being done down to the metal. They use a global illumination, and it's still damn good. It looks good. So I get it. It's a cheap way of doing it. It's not software based totally. It is some hardware based, and then the rest is software. But it is what it is. But it looks good, and that's all Sony cares about. If they can use that name ray tracing to sell their games, they don't give a shit how it's done. I learned that from last generation because they lied. They said the regular PS4 at some point in the lifespan. I think it was right when they started doing the first revision of the PS4, the smaller ones that was cheaper, that claimed that they had HDR, and I'm like, you cannot fucking have HDR because the output of the HDMI on that console doesn't have the bandwidth to do HDR, so it's impossible. It can never ever do it. Yeah, Sony advertised the fuck out of saying PS4 had HDR, and it was on game boxes, it was on the actual console boxes. Total false advertising. But they had a form of fake HDR, and the actual HDR Association, I don't know what their actual name is or called, but anyway, there's an actual group that governs that kind of shit. They even called Sony out and said, no, they do not have HDR. That's wrong. But Sony don't give a fuck. They kept right on calling it that, kept right on advertising it. It was a total BS when Microsoft actually had real HDR. And that always kind of bugged me too, that Sony gets away with that shit. If Microsoft does something like that, they get called out and the media goes crazy and they start contacting Congress. Microsoft's doing this. You know, and it's like Sony does anything and nothing's ever said, nothing ever gets done. And that's why it pisses me off when even something as minor as calling games 4K that are upscaled to 4K. It just bugs the shit out of me. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. You know, it should have to put correctly what it is. 1440p, you know, upscaled to whatever. But I guess one of the ways they're getting away with it now, and they were getting away with it before anyway, even when it wasn't 4K, but I guess because there will be a 4K mode that just won't be at 60 frames. So technically there will be some real, you know, native 4K for that whatever particular game it is. It just won't be at 60 frames. But again, that shit needs to be put on the box that way correctly.
Right.
But the fanboys will go, oh, this is this, not, and no, it's not. You know, Digital Foundry will help with some of that, but even they can't. Yeah, you can't contain the Sony fanboys. They're going to claim whatever they claim, whether it is or not.
Either way,
they do have some good studios that just make games that look great, but that's because the graphics are so good. Graphics and resolution are not the same thing, and there's to this day some people just can't understand that. When I'm bitching about this resolution stuff, it is very minor. Okay, it really is. How good the graphics are and how good they look and work that's totally due to those artists that are building these textures within the computer or whatever and doing their magic, doing the games. Sony's got some top-notch people at some of them studios that do that. That's why God of War as a 1080p game looks fucking amazing. It's not 4K, not even on the Pro. I think the Pro is only 1440p, if that. Hell, it might have even been 1080p on the Pro. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at whatever digital foundry.
I think it's 14. Yeah, I think it's 14.
But the thing is, it looks amazing. The graphics are just
great. Oh, yeah.
So the resolution don't always matter that much because, again, either your console's going to upscale it or the game itself will use some kind of upscaling technique. You know, what's the big one that first was used on actually by Xbox on Quantum Break? I forget that technique, but it's the one that Sony kind of mastered and used a whole lot with PS4 Pro games. And yeah, it bumps up them resolutions, so it doesn't matter what the game, if the game is 720p, 1080p, 1440. They look great if the graphics were great to begin with.
Well, here's another great example. This different system, but amazing what they did. So Alien Isolation, when it was released on the Switch, in some ways, and this is from Digital Foundry, not just me, but I have both, so I can confirm this. In some ways, it actually looks better on the Switch, even though it's running technically at a lower resolution, because they implemented great artwork, high resolution graphics, and an excellent temporal anti-aliasing solution, which the PlayStation 4 did not have. The only thing they had to take out was the motion blur. But honestly, it's such a good trade-off because even though the graphics are between like 900p and 1080p depending on the situation, you never see the resolution drop, and it looks amazing because of how well they did the artwork in the game, and the anti-aliasing solution they used it was just perfect.
Wasn't that an OG Xbox game?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, because it was actually made at a much higher resolution, and
But but it's
textures
kind of
were much higher originally,
exactly
though those consoles back then could not use that.
right. But the point is, just kind of to emphasize your point, the resolution didn't matter because it looked good because of the art direction and the style that they used. So I'm agreeing with you and just kind of emphasizing it that I mean it's amazing what they can do when they just they sit down and they really work with the system. And like I said, I don't care about 1440p like you. I mean, yeah, I would like to see 4K, sure, everyone would, but if it looks amazing and it runs great, I'm good. I'm good. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
But you're right. I understand the lying part of it. That's just egregious, and it's bullshit. I mean, it's pure and simple.
Yeah, I think companies are afraid to call Sony out because the media, they know that Sony will pull advertising dollars from their websites and stuff like that, and so they don't say anything, and then they gush over stupid crap that. But I don't think people should. The game looks good. Don't worry about it being 1440p. It looks good. I just don't want them to put 4K on the outside of that box, or when you download it, when you select that thumbnail on your store front, that it should say that it's a 1440p upscaled to whatever.
Or don't even say anything. Just here's the game. Yeah, that's fine too. You know what I mean? Just let it go. Like don't say it's 4K. Just. But you said it yourself. It's a marketing term. It's just a way to push the product. Unfortunately, well, it would be great if they were honest. I mean, I
think both companies got blinded by the fact that when they went from the PS2 and OG Xbox to the 360 and the PS3, that was when high def was ushered in. Okay, and they got blinded by, instead of worrying about doing great graphics in games, they got blinded by the resolution. And maybe not so much Microsoft, because they had that 10-month jump on Sony, or how many ever months it was that the 360 was out before the PS3 released. Those games were mostly all 720p. If not, I think some might have even still been some of the carryovers that had been PS2 games or OG Xbox games. Well, some of the third-party stuff I don't think was even 720p. They might have been lower.
It was like 540 or something. Yeah.
Res to 720. But games still, it was shocking to go from the tube TVs to HD and then the games. Yeah, it just... So when they moved into this next gen, Microsoft just thought, well, it don't matter. It didn't matter. HD looked great, no matter what the resolution was on any of those games during that generation. And nobody ever talked about that shit back then. Sony was kind of ready to, everybody was so dazzled by the going to HD and the higher reses. They made a big deal out of it going into that generation. 1080p makes you a better gamer and bullshit like that. And then starting with the 1X, Microsoft's been jamming that down their throats. You the one said that crap, so we've got better. And then they got a little bit too much worrying about resolution instead of just, better graphics in their games. But I think they finally got away from that when by the time they got to Gears 5, that's still an amazing game. And graphically, it's just incredible. I don't care much for the characters. Yeah, they got to work on that. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
but graphically it was amazing. I agree.
and even stylistically, games like Sea of Thieves just look amazing. They're not on a graphics level of something like God of War or Gears of War
No,
5,
but that water
but
is something.
yeah,
That water is beautiful.
I think the whole game's beautiful. They just
Oh, but
made it
yeah,
like
I
a big
know.
cartoon game, and it just looks incredible.
But yeah, I agree. But I'm just saying that if I had to pick one thing other than the obvious would be the water. I just like the water mechanics. I don't know. It's called me crazy. I've always found fancy water. It's one of the reasons I like Bioshock so much graphically. Just the impressive water that they did in that game too. Especially the opening when the plane crashes and you're swimming to the lighthouse. That still looks amazing to me. And that was that was 360 level
Yeah,
gen. That's speed. They still haven't quite beaten that, and that's just. I mean, the Unreal Engine just does water so damn well.
well, I still think it's the best overall engine out there. Now, there have been a
Oh
couple
yeah,
of engines that made games look a little more spectacular, but they were too hard to program for, stuff like the Cry engine, and there's the other ones. I don't want to start naming them all off, but and it seems like people wanted to get away from Unreal Engine, and so they didn't have to pay. Every game wanted its own engine, and then yeah, that ended up being a mess for some companies because they tried to do their own engine and it just made things worse. Or a big company like EA, like we want all our devs to use one particular engine, and they're you know then you should have made them all use Unreal, and you should have went and tried to buy that, but oh well, they didn't. And I think more people have come around to it. But then again, I say that, and supposedly, Halo was originally going to be Unreal Engine for the first time to get away from that crap engine they'd been using. And then they decided to make their own engine, and that delayed the game, put 2 extra years on it. And then it's delayed now because they didn't do a good enough job, or who knows, whatever was the reason. Craig's the reason, but I like Craig.
yeah. It's creating an engine is a very long and tedious process. I mean, to be honest,
Oh, and they have to be
I
updated constantly because every time you
yeah,
do a new game, there's different mechanics and things
exactly.
that engines has to be account for, and different stuff, and it just so unless you're a company that like Epic that puts the time and money to constantly fix their engine to work with multiple things, it doesn't work trying to you know
Right,
like
exactly.
yeah trying to make all your games use the same engine. Yeah, that's just stupid because it should be a case by case, game by game decision on what engine the devs want to use. And if they got to pay the extra money, then they got to go get an engine and pay for it. you know, or if that company feels, as long as no one knows about it, so it's not out there, they spend X amount of dollars on whatever. I always hate that. Then they try to pin it onto that one game saying that money was spent for it.
Right.
Build the engine in secrecy is what I'm getting at, and then build your game. And speaking of something that shouldn't even be talked about, that should never be a factor, but we all know it is on what engine gets used.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's true. I mean, admittedly, okay. The one thing I did kind of ask, when I did a Kickstarter game once. Just I, it's not out yet. It's coming out next year, but I really wanted to see, know the engine that they were using because certain engines don't work well for certain games. Um, so they were using at the time Unity 3D, which is fine. Unity 3D for what they were using it, for what they were trying to make was fine. But I know Unity itself, at least the original Unity, does not work well with consoles. They tweaked it since. Now it's
Yeah, I
fine.
was gonna
But
say there's a ton of indie games on Unity because it's free, and
yeah, they
they look
did, but they
great.
got better. It got better because they tweaked it. But when it first came out, it was PC only, and the consoles because the graphics on the consoles, the graphics cards, I should say, not the graphics, but the CPU are not the PC graphics cards. So, it's a much lower overhead, and Unity just struggled. I mean,
Yeah, but there were certain developers that knew kind of how to program around.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, it got better.
But a lot were really crap.
But at that time, a couple years back, that's where it kind of mattered. But yeah, today, honestly, as long as the game runs well, who cares what engine it uses? So
yeah, sometimes when devs make a bad game, I think they just blame it on the engine because they made a bad game. It's like, yeah, but such and such developer kind of made a good game with the same engine.
Exactly.
Oh, but ours was a different kind of game. It was well, then you shouldn't have used that. Well, our publisher made us use it, and it's like, well, yeah, whatever.
Excuses. Look, the game was bad. You guys did a bad job. I'm sorry, but it just fess up to it. Do better next time. That's it. Stop blaming everything else. I know I'm kind of being a dick with that, but that's how I feel with a lot of these.
Hey, we got 4 people watching tonight. Holy cow! Nice. Hey, we're getting up there, man.
Yeah,
my channel's actually over 50 subs now, and
nice.
And we're getting 40 to 50 watches. A few days after the fact, so that's not bad. As soon as I said that, somebody fucking shut the video off. Damn you, wherever you were. Damn you.
Drop them here.
We're gonna get there, man. We're gonna be consistent, and I think some people don't like the fact that we talk about anything and everything. But oh well, that's the kind of show this is, and I think we're gonna draw an audience sooner or later.
Oh yeah.
Trying to nudge some of the movie people that are on my Twitter timeline, but they don't. I don't think none of them ever come over. And yeah, I think Saturday evenings they're at home watching the movie, or just like a lot of gamers are playing games right now or out partying. It's Saturday night, but oh well. It's the same on Friday nights. And there's been some podcasts get big numbers on Friday night, or bigger numbers than what we're doing right now, but we're still pretty new. This is only episode 8, so. And actually, a couple of those episodes were done in on the Wednesday afternoon. They wasn't really even part of this show. So this is actually only, about the 4th one we've done?
Yeah.
So really, I shouldn't even be silent. I started counting the other ones because I don't do that show anymore. I just roll them all into one since they're on my page. But yeah, whatever. We'll keep it up. I had some other people invited, but because they couldn't make it for whatever reason. So it may end up just being me and you, 2-man show. But I kind of like 2-man shows. I watch the Xbox 2 with Jez Gordon and recording and Randall all the time, and it's fine. You don't have to have 3, 4, 5 people.
Oh yeah.
In fact, there's more than 4. I get that's like too many. You get 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, some people be okay with that.
Then people start talking over each other, and it gets messy. I've seen plenty of those. But I agree with you. I think 2-man shows work. Is great. If it's 3 or 4, sometimes sure, why not?
I picked out a few things to talk about tonight, and you had the Nintendo thing with Smash Bros. Getting what's the guy's name again? Sam.
Steve.
Yeah, Steve. I knew his name. I was just joking. But yeah, it. So we were semi-structured tonight, although we did kind of a couple times went off into left field, started on one topic and floated into another one, and then they kind of come back around, so that's fine.
Yeah,
I don't mind that at all. And I've actually talked to some people that have watched the show, and they actually like that. They like because we have a conversation, and that's what podcasts are. They're conversational shows. So I don't like that. Hey, here's the topic ABC. Next topic, ABC. Next topic, ABC, and all the panel members basically say the same thing. It's like, yeah, and it's okay if you think the same thing, but you can still put your 2 cents in on it, or your spin or your twist on whatever the subject is. And a lot of them shows don't do that. They just regurgitate the same old thing. And it seems from one show to the next, a lot of them seem the same. So I can, if nothing else, I can say our show's different.
Yes,
We might talk about some of the same subjects they do, but we don't talk in the same way. And yeah, I kind of like what we're doing. We're just still beginning. So hopefully we'll get some big time YouTuber to pop in with us, and we'll get some numbers eventually.
We did get Xbot.
Yeah, that was awesome. He did that on his own. I've not went to any really big timers because I don't know. I just, I think we got to earn our stripes, and as we start to grow, then
yeah.
I'll start, because I've been on some pretty big shows, and I've been on the Iron Lords, and I've been on a bunch of boom shows, but haven't been on RDX yet. But oh well. If we can get Colt Eastwood or Dealer Gaming on there, man, yeah, we'd draw some people in. I watched Dealer with one of those Windows Central guys, Miles, whatever his last name is, I don't know. Today they had like a 2-hour. They were actually had gameplay going on. That was, which I don't care about. But I guess it does. Some people really like that, and I don't mind it. It does. It's probably more interesting just seeing your and mine avatar, but I don't know that I'm going to be recording any gameplay to stick up there. And they weren't just recording gameplay; they were actually streaming the game, live while they were talking. But it was a really good conversation. It was kind of like us. They were a little more structured, but yeah, it was a real interesting watch this morning. And I guess it's that guy's show that's on Windows Central. He does a lot of stuff with Jess Corden and at Windows Central. He's the video guy, but he had Colt on there this morning. It was pretty good. So
that's good. Good
yeah,
stuff.
they did a lot of talk about how to make YouTube shows better and stuff. And I'm like, it's kind of funny because I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. So my shit will never be good because I'm not trying to have a career at this. They were talking about people trying to have a career and earn money off of it. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's not what I just love games. I love talking about them. I love movies and I love talking about them. So, why not talk about both? And we'll start getting into some music here, one of these weeks too. I'm big into, I just got another knockoff guitar. I got a Fender Stratocaster.
Oh, nice.
Classic. It's supposed to be a blonde Strat, but since it's from China, they sent me a more yellow colored one. It's still very beautiful, but it's the wrong color. It's supposed to be like what Hendrix played and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Oh, Stevie Ray Vaughan also played like a Fireburst one that was all beat up and scratched up and stuff. But he also played a blonde Strat a lot in his shows for certain songs. But anyway, yeah, I collect those things, and since they're cheap and I can't afford real ones, I'm gonna get at least one more. I'll get me a Telecaster, and then I'm gonna use them as a wall decoration to hang up in my bedroom.
That's nice. Yeah,
good. They look great because I've got a Gibson Les Paul 1959. It'd be like, it's probably worth about $300,000 if it was real, but I paid like $160 for it. So yeah, I don't mind buying knockoffs. I seen where I took a picture of it. There might have been a picture of this Fender one when I first ordered it. It almost seemed like they were trying to turn me into YouTube. They sent a reply back with my thing, and then they also had YouTube at YouTube. Like they're trying to get me in trouble or something. And I'm like, YouTube don't give a fuck if I'm playing have a Chinese knockoff guitar in my video. They don't give a shit.
No, why would they?
No, it's got nothing to do with anything. But I just thought that was so strange when that happened. It's like, I didn't even call the dude out on it. Because I don't know if he was intentionally doing that or why it was in the. But you know how you can select multiple people for your tweet.
Yeah.
Well, they had me selected because they were replying to my tweet that had that picture on it, and then they. But also they sent it to YouTube's Twitter account. It had at YouTube. I'm like, why would somebody do that? YouTube don't want to get a tweet that I did. It was bizarre. But
yeah, that's weird. People are weird. I don't know. It's just sometimes they do things that I have no idea what they're thinking.
Yeah. But again, I brought that up because these are knockoffs, and we talked earlier about the that game company getting a couple people arrested for selling
Right.
pirated Switch stuff. I didn't even know the Switch had been hacked. I'm not into that whole scene anymore.
Yeah, a few times it's been hacked, and Nintendo always releases an update, and then it gets hacked again, and then it's back and forth, just usual.
Yeah, I read some stuff today about it. They were like, nobody was caring about how those guys were doing in jail. They were like, well, are we going to be stuck on that last update, or will somebody put something out? So I'm like, yeah, all right, that's cool.
It's like, hey guys, you
game.
You hacked your Switch, or you updated your Switch. You're stuck.
Some people get all touchy about pirated games and stuff, but over the years, I've always said, and this is maybe becoming different now, but let's go back, say 5 years ago, 8 years ago, even 10 years ago. A dead system was a dead system. So if I had an EverDrive, good on me. I could have every game for that system. Now, and I wasn't stealing money from Nintendo. I wasn't stealing money from Sega. Okay, I wasn't stealing money from none of those developers because they don't sell those games anymore. So me having the ROMs and not taking money out of their pocket. But then Nintendo started selling old games through online services, But again, I'm still not, if I'm not buying those from them, I'm not taking money out of their pocket having the ROMs. But Nintendo may feel differently. I know they've tried to shut some of those ROM sites down, but they're still out there. You can go get every ROM from all those old systems, no problem. But I've always been pretty good about staying away from a current system. I don't feel like you should steal games that developer can still get money for if you go buy their game. But they don't make games for the Super Nintendo anymore. So, I don't care that I have EverDrive and I've got all those ROMs. And if someone does make a new game, which they do for old systems sometimes, but it's independent people doing that. And it's got nothing to do with Nintendo or any major publishing houses. Then I don't steal that game, I don't get their ROM for whatever game. There's been a few Neo Geo ones come out, a few Super Nintendo. New games get made for those old systems every once in a while. There's been a few for the Dreamcast.
Oh, speaking of which, I just got an HDMI converter for my Dreamcast. I literally came in the mail today. I got to try it out, and I'll report on my Twitter what I think of it.
Yeah, I keep meaning to get the SD. Well, I was going to do the SD card thing, but I guess now you can do the whole hard drive for your Dreamcast. You just take out with the SD card, you had to cut just a slot somewhere on the back of the Dreamcast, and that's where you tied it into the board. But now you just actually pull your whole CD-ROM unit out, or well, it wasn't a true CD-ROM. It was that weird thing they put in.
Oh, that GD-ROM they call it.
Yeah, but you got to pull that out, and then you can actually put a hard disk drive in it. Just download the right software, and then you can download all the games. That's pretty good. That's a good way so you can have those games and not ever have to, because lasers do wear out.
They do.
And so if you got all those games on the hard drive, disk drives wear out too, but you can clone it. So you've got a backup, and then before you start, after you've tested your backup, make sure it works, and then maybe every 6 months play it, because hard disk drives will get rotted or die if they just sit too long not being used. Same thing for little SD cards and things, but not all. I've had SD cards that were 7, 8 years old that I've had stuff on that I popped in and they still work.
Yeah.
But, all drives, the more you write to them, they're going to die at some point. I mean, they only got so many rewrites.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, but people keep telling, this is the thing people need to get out there, because these new systems have such small drives inside of them. They're like, oh, it's okay, just leave it on your old hard disk drive and just move games back and forth. That all sounds great. oh, it only takes like 7 minutes. But here's the thing: every time you write to that internal hard drive, you lessen its life. Okay,
That's true,
if you're
especially a
changing,
solid state.
yes, and some of them are set to like 15 terabytes worth of write. I don't know what the newest models are now. They could be a lot more than that, but I just know at one point it was something like that. And I'm like, God damn, that's not a lot. 15. And if you're moving games back and forth, that means you're constantly writing to that internal. It might not last the whole 5 years or 7 years of the generation. You might have a dead drive inside that thing at some point. Of course, the
Yeah.
great thing about now, if you're on Xbox, you'll just be able to read down. And I guess with Sony too, as long as you bought those games digitally, you'll be able to re-download them. Now, if you bought them, if you got the physical disc, as long as your disc is still good, you can get your hard drive repaired or put another one in, and you'll be okay, because you've got the disc, or you'll just re-download it. So I guess it's not that big a deal if you kill your drive.
No, and I'll say this much too. The with Sony, and Microsoft does this, but just with the Sony PS4, when I upgraded my hard drive, mid-year, mid life cycle. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. It was pretty seamless because they let you back up certain things. Like I was able to actually get PT off the old hard drive and put it on my new terabyte that I installed in the PS4. And even though it's a delisted game, it still keeps you save on the cloud. So when I downloaded the cloud save to it, I didn't lose anything. And that's a delisted game. So Sony, at least you could say that much about them. You can download, and as long as you have that backup to your cloud, you're good. At least on the same system. Not talking about upgrades or anything. So you're right there. So at least Sony and Microsoft there are equals in terms of getting your games back, for hard drives. So that's good. At least until they take off the game completely, which hopefully doesn't happen anytime soon.
I don't put anything on their cloud though. I clone my hard drives, and I have no problem having a spare hard drive that I don't.
Oh yeah, and you can do that with the Sony on the PlayStation 4. You can totally clone it and then just swap them.
It only takes a 4 terabyte, though, right? You can't go bigger.
I don't think you can. No,
you can't.
But I'll be honest with you. At 2 terabytes, and I have a lot of PS4 games, I never had a problem.
Yeah.
So at least for that system, that's that. But the PS5, that's a whole other animal.
There's no 4K assets for the PS4, so
yeah,
they're much smaller. But
you can get away with a couple of gigs, Of course, then you have like Red Dead Redemption 2, which is like over 100 gigabytes. This is an example of a current gen that's ridiculously high.
Yeah. They're all going to be like that pretty soon.
Oh, they are.
I don't think you'll get very many games that won't be at least 100 gigabytes. But that was the other thing. My God, 664. That is all you get on that PS4 or PS5 SSD. 664 gigabytes. Holy shit. That's 6 games, man. That's not good.
That's after the updates and all that. Wow, that's pretty low.
Yeah. It's they only started with 800 something. At least Microsoft started with a full 1 terabyte, so they went down to 800 something for theirs. But
even that, I mean, it's better. It's definitely better. It's 2 more games better, but it's still low. Yeah. It's just scary that that's low now. You know what I mean?
Well, it's probably not as good as, I hate to say it, but there's not going to be as many 4K games on the PS5. So you're going to get some games where you don't have to worry about pulling over 4K textures, where everything on the Xbox is 4K. You're gonna eat some textures eat up some space, but at least Microsoft, you can break everything apart. I don't like multiplayer, so I don't have to download up that multiplayer for all those games. That is cool. I really like that.
That's good.
Sony don't have that right now, and I don't know that they will. They might end up with some third-party games that do that, but they'll have to do that, where it's just going to be automatic with Xbox. So it's pretty cool. And that's part of their whole game stack and their velocity architecture that allows for that.
Right.
Of course,
Well,
Sony can steal that technology. They steal everything from everybody, and that's
and
fine. And hey, if you're not getting sued, then it's not stolen.
I mean, true enough. Also, too, even if they do, steal it, I mean, that just means that Microsoft can improve other things, and it just creates competition, which is a good thing in a way.
Yeah, Sony don't ever do any innovation. They just steal their ideals from once another company does it. It's funny because they will slyly, through their fanboys or through the media, complain about something on the other consoles. All the while they're in the background stealing that tech or that API or that whatever to do it on their console. And then they do it, and then it's all held about how great it was. Yet 6 months prior, it was like, oh, that's shit. That's why we don't do it. It's bullshit, or this, that, and the other. And they just got away with shit like that over the years. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, they've that's true. They've gotten away with too much with that. Like I said, I support it not because I mean I don't particularly care for Sony or any company.
I like PlayStation. I just don't like Sony as a company.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like
I
the
like
gaming division, PlayStation's fine. And
yeah.
now I don't care much for their current leadership that just took over, but they may turn out to be fine too. I like their previous leadership, and I like the leadership before those guys.
Yeah.
Sony were great. They've had back to back, so they've had like a good 15-year run where they had top people and running their company, and that was nice. But now I don't know about Jim. What they call Dance Moves Ryan.
Yeah, I'm not certain about him either. I don't know.
Needs to go back to just like the previous management, just shut up. They just wouldn't say anything. And then they're kind of doing that too now. There's a lot of stuff they're not talking about, but yeah, that's kind of been Sony's MO on stuff. You can't tweet their executives, and their executives don't. If you're tweeting about them and stuff, they don't stoop down and reply. Or if you're making anti-Sony videos or something, they don't stoop that low to answer to them. Whereas Microsoft, good God, they worry about that kind of shit, and they're always trying to talk to their fans and things. And I guess that's good, but sometimes it's like, really, you're worried about what the crap gamer says? Come on, Phil.
So if I open up a YouTube channel and I start trashing Xbox, do you think they'll send me one just to kind of prove how great they are?
Well, if you got enough subscribers, you'll get one. I mean, there's guys that's not even anti-Xbox that get them. What's the one dude that's supposed to be comical? I can't think of his name, but he.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, he got one.
I've never seen any of his videos other than the when he gets Xbox stuff sent to him. And he does goofy videos, and they're like, I don't even think they're that funny, but it's like, really, you send this clown a fucking $500 console, and but he gets people watching. So I guess I wish I could be funny like him, because I'm
advertising.
Not, and I don't, I've got 51 subs, and he's got 500,000 or something. I don't know how many he has. I'm just
right.
He's got a lot. But he's not like anti-Xbox. But I don't get any of his other videos. I guess they pop him into my feed because he's talking about Xbox. So I don't know what stuff he does. So I've never seen any of that. I only seen the ones he did back when the One X came out, and now the Series S. I've never seen him do a Sony video. But he's not really pro Xbox guy either. I don't know what his deal is. But other dudes that get them is like, really? You sent that motherfucker a console? Come on. I don't give a fuck how many people sub to them or how big they are. You just don't do that. But I guess they look at it like, no, we're transparent. We'll send their enemies consoles. This is such a good product, they can't say anything bad about it. But yet they still do. They find something bad to say. Come on, Microsoft. Wake up.
I know.
That dude Boogie, fuck him. I really dislike him a lot. And his psycho alter ego character, mentally retarded or mentally unstable guy, I didn't find that entertaining at all. I didn't care for his videos, and yet, God, they gave him consoles and then he shit on them.
If I got a free console, I mean, maybe this damns me from ever getting one, but I don't think I'd crap on it because it's free. And frankly, I'm just appreciative that I get to play more games. That's
Yeah,
just my take on it.
I heard that the ones that they got sent now, they have to send back because they're not actual commercial models, but they're going to download to them automatically a whole shit ton of more games here for next week, so they can start doing early reviews and stuff. And it's like
that's good enough to me.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'm not sure I'd send it back. I'd be like, I don't care if Microsoft bricks it. I'm keeping this fucker. They brick it though, so yeah.
Yeah, but if they brick it, at least like maybe 10 years down the line, you can hack it.
True.
Granted, you have to wait 10 years, but hey, just a little modding after it's all done, said and done.
There was a point I was actually gonna sell my One X and my Pro, and even my OG day one Xbox to pay for the Series X, and then to help a little bit for the PS5. But instead I sold my PS5 pre-order. Now my Xbox paid for it. I think I really want to keep that Xbox One, although I don't know why. I only have one 4K television, and I know, yeah, I can hook it to a 1080p TV and the games will look better on it. But am I ever going to play games on that television? No, I'm not. You don't need to play on screens that big. I don't do it now, even though I've got an OG Xbox on it. My plan was to actually get rid of the Pro, the One X, and then get a One S and a PS4 Slim this Black Friday that's coming up, and then keep those on that 1080p TV, and then have the PS5 and the and I know I seem like I talk bad about, again, it's Sony I don't like. I actually like PlayStation, and I'm going to have a PS5. That was too much money. The guy offered me cash. Now,
yeah,
fuck it. I'm like, dude, it's a pre-order. What if it comes late? Yeah, I don't care. I showed him I had the pre-order and all that. So he paid me. It's his. I got to go pick it up when it ever does come in. But cool.
No, hey, whatever works for you.
Yeah. And so I'll get, whenever the PS5 gets where it's on a store shelf, when I walk into a Walmart or a GameStop and they have them right there, I'm going to slide back 500 of that money he gave me, and that'll pay for it. I'm in no hurry. It can be months before that happens, and that's when I'll get one.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not to order one I'm not ordering any mail order crap. Do that. I'm just going to walk into a Walmart, a Target, or a GameStop and just pay cash and buy it and walk out, because I've got the money. And then I've already got, now my X is paid for, so my Series X. So I think I'll just keep that One X, although I'm not sure why. I don't really need it. It's kind of weird, but I think I need the PlayStation because they're not carrying their saves forward. They're not going to be. No matter what they say, their back and pat's all messed up. And at some point during this generation going forward, they'll fix all that. I know they will. It'll take them time. Look how long Microsoft's worked on their back and pat program.
True.
And it took them forever to build up the library they got. And I don't think Sony has nearly amount of bodies or teams that Microsoft had working on back and pat.
No, that's true. I agree.
It's not going to have that. I'm sure they got a team, but it's not going to be the amount of people that Microsoft had doing it to get those games out. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe the Series X starts outselling the PS5. Then Sony might start doing shit to take care of their customers. But as long as they're selling the most consoles, they don't.
They get arrogant. Yeah.
I hate to call it arrogant, but I guess that's what it is. But it's more of they take customers for granted, like they just know their fanboys will buy whatever Nintendo's the same way. They know they've got that built-in audience is going to buy whatever, They can get away with some shit. Microsoft's just never reached that level. And people say, well, they've been around. They've been around forever now. They're on their fourth console, technically fifth. I count the One X as a separate console. It was such leaps and bounds ahead of the regular Xbox One. As far as I'm concerned, that was its own generation. And it was the most powerful console on the planet and still is until the Series X comes out.
Right.
And so, yeah, but anyway, and 20 years, not 20 years, a good 10, 15 years prior to them making and selling a console, Microsoft was making games. They had a games division. I mean, they've been doing Flight Sim for 30 years?
Yep.
They only had Xboxes for 20 years, right? Give or take.
Give or take, yeah. I can't remember when it was.
Sony's only been around 5 more years longer and 1 generation longer. With the PS2 generations when Xbox come out. Now, it was 2 years into the generation. Everybody thinks they came out at the same time. No. 2 years in, and then 4 years later, Microsoft dumped the OG Xbox to beat Sony to the high def gen, and they released the 360. Sony at that time had already sold so many PS2s, they couldn't make that jump yet. They're like, man, every game we put out, we're selling 10 million fucking copies. We cannot jump to a new console and start over. Microsoft knew that. Microsoft had only sold 30 million OG Xboxes. They're like, we can fucking jump to the next one, no problem, and get that year's jump. And now it was risky because when Sega tried to get that year jump on PlayStation 1, it bit them in the ass. And listen, there was a shit ton of Sega Saturn games. I'm telling you, there was great games. But the second that PS1 dropped and it only thing different was it had a CD player.
No, the Saturn had a CD player.
Yeah, but
well, in a way, it
was harder to operate.
I guess.
No, you just put a CD in, but what popped up on screen and all that, I don't know. It just didn't seem as, I can't explain it, but the PS1 just destroyed it. I mean, it was like literally, it died right after the PS1 came out. But prior to that, it was selling great, especially in Japan. And actually, it never stopped selling good in Japan until even Japan said, yeah, we're going to the Dreamcast, and then sales died right then and there in Japan for the Saturn. I'm a huge Saturn fan, so all that shit still just irks the fuck out of me.
Well, I mean, if you look at, I think is it Video Game Historian? I mean, he did mention on the top 3 mistakes Sega made. He does like the top 3 mistakes every company makes, and one of the mistakes Sega made, and I agree with this, is that the surprise release of the Saturn in the U.S. It just boom, it's available, and a lot of retailers and even some developers were taken. It completely threw off schedules and
what later become GameStop, EB Games in the malls.
Yeah,
refused to carry it. There was
actually,
one
KB
other.
Games. KB Games actually refused to carry it. EB carried it, but
EB
KB did not.
Okay. I just know that one of them has not carried it.
One of those.
I didn't actually buy one until a little deeper into the generation after it was already announced that the Dreamcast was going to be coming.
Yeah,
and I went and picked one up for nothing. In about
I'm with you too. I love the Saturn. I mean, I
got it at a Toys R Us for. I can't remember what the console was, but I bought all those games for like $2 and $3 a piece.
Yeah, that's more or less what I did too.
And then I spent the next 3-4 years burning all the good Japanese games for it. I didn't buy none of those. I just I'm not importing, even though they were cheaper. I'm like, they're still way too expensive.
They never really
no copy protection, so I just burned them. I'm like, fuck them. I don't care.
I'm just thankful I was able to get Panzer Dragoon Saga or RPG as it's known in Japan. When it was actually my friend got it for me, the second printing actually, because the first printing sold out and they made a second printing, but only if you ordered it from Sega directly. So he ordered it for me, and I am so thrilled and thankful I have that game. Like, I got one of the few copies, and it's such an amazing game. I would love for them to remake it somehow. I know the code was lost, but You can't tell me somebody can't backward engineer it to a point, or at least create
Yeah.
something. The key is money. If they're going to make money on it, because it's not going to be cheap to create
Well,
a
I've got
game from
two
scratch.
working Saturns now, and one of them is modded internally. The other one just uses that 4-in-1 cartridge to mod the
Yeah,
consoles,
yep.
play bootlegs and Japanese
Japanese
games.
games. That's what I
But
have.
they also sell a thing now that you can use with the Dreamcast or the Saturn that'll let you basically use a hard drive for all the games, or use it like an EverDrive. And it's pretty pricey, but it's pretty sweet. I'm going to get one of those and get a third Saturn. It's my all-time favorite console. I thought I had 3 Saturns, but I only got 2. I don't know what happened to the third one. I've got 2 black ones, and I used to have a white one, but I guess I must have traded that white one on something or sold it at one time or another. It's gone now anyway. Like I said, I for sure only have 2, so I'm gonna grab a third one and buy that. Terra Onion sells it. It's I forget what it's called, but I'm gonna get that because I still worry about. Although those lasers in those Saturns are built like tanks, I've never had one go bad.
Yeah, no, they are. They really are.
I still to this day play my Saturn a lot, and it just keeps going. And I'm playing copied games bootleg. I don't want to call them bootleg because I did the burns, and I don't sell them, or so I didn't buy them from somebody. So I just burn them myself on a dead console. So,
well, if anything, the CD will go bad before the laser does, because the laser just reading it. It's not writing anything, so it's not going to hurt it. If the worst it comes, the worst, you just have to reburn it. That's the only thing.
Well, the laser can die. I've had
true. I'm not
in the PS1.
right.
I've said over that I've got 2 PS1s right now that don't work, and 1 PS2 that don't work because they got bad lasers in them. And I've ordered the lasers, the lenses. I have them. I just hadn't changed them out yet. And I have a Neo Geo CD that's got a bad. The laser's not bad in it. It just needs to be adjusted to get it to read again. But
okay,
I suck at that kind of stuff, and so
that's hard. That's
started working on it. And I got it. It played, but I hadn't put everything back together, and I bumped it before I tightened everything down, and it got it off again. And I've not tried to fix it.
I've done that. Yeah.
I put the top back on, but nothing screwed down like it should be because it's Neo Geo. But it doesn't have to be modded or anything. It'll just play anything you burn. So, but sometimes if you are playing burned games on them, you got to adjust those lasers so they read correctly. But for whatever reason, PlayStation, just even reading regular games, were just bought crap for their equipment. It's bad.
I admit, my what I did at the time, I got so angry at Sony. I was like one of those Karen type customer, Carls, I guess they call it, the male version of Karens, where I just went off on this poor guy because I was like, it's a ripoff. It's past the warranty. You knew the lasers sucked, and they eventually fixed it for free, even though it was like 2 years out of warranty. I can't believe. I wouldn't do it again, but I was just so angry. I just went off on this poor guy. Probably went home and probably drank like 20 pints of beer, but
I bought I still actually have a Vizio 1080p TV in my living room, a 70 inch, pretty big. And the first one I bought from them was way out of warranty, and I got like these spots in it, and it turned out that was because Vizio had bought those panels from LG, and they were like really garbage panels. I don't think LG even used them in their own TVs. They just sold them to other companies. And Vizio had bought a shit ton of them, and they put white dots on your screen, which is weird because they would be the worst on white backgrounds.
I believe it.
Those dots.
Yeah.
And, it was awful, and it had happened, and then by the time I reported it, I was way out of warranty. But since they knew about it, they just sent me a new TV. But when they sent that new one, they said, if you get white dots on these, you're on your own. You better buy a warranty. And I did buy a warranty. And damn if I didn't see a few white dots on this one. Although this was the TV they sent me wasn't the same model that it went bad. It had been so long that they already had this was a higher end model that
Right.
they from 2 years later, but it got some of those white dots, and it really bothered me. But the thing was, when I checked my warranty or when I called on it, they were only going to give me $400 for a TV that I only paid $600 for. That if I tried to replace a 70-inch TV, even 1080p was going to run me $1,000.
Ah,
It made no sense to. I'm like, you know what? Fuck y'all. I don't want your $400 because I can't turn around and buy anything. And luckily, those white dots were not very bothersome, and it never got worse. And now, many years later, because I don't watch that TV, but every once in a blue moon, I don't see them anymore. I don't understand. I think they're still there. I think as I started watching it all the time, they'd start reappearing. There wasn't very many of them, and it wasn't a big deal. And it never affected me watching any movie. So, yeah, but it's just weird now because I got this 4K set. I watch probably 80% of everything on my 4K set. But every once in a while, it's only a 55-inch. I like that 70 for the size. And I've got the much better sound system in the living room. I've only got a sound bar on this. A decent sound bar with a subwoofer, but it's still a sound bar. You're not getting
right. Yeah.
7.2. I've got dual subs in the living room. But yeah, I don't even notice it anymore. So I'm like, that worked out pretty good. And since I still have a shit ton of DVDs, and I don't like my DVDs getting upscaled to 4K, it's okay. But that's, again, I like native resolution, so I like playing my DVDs because they're getting upscaled to a 1080p set as it is. But to make that jump all the way to 4K, it's a little much for upresing. So from 5, whatever they are, 520 or 5, whatever the number is, all the way to 4K is a little much. So I just I like watching my DVDs on that or on a 720p set that's 60-inch that I have in a spare bedroom. That's a DLP set, and it has to be in a completely darkened room. But movies, particularly DVDs, still look really good on it. But I don't. To be
And really,
honest,
that's all that matters. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't go in the spare bedroom and watch too many movies where I'm at here now because I got a ton of other shit in there too. But I'm moving later this month in the new place. Yeah, there's going to be a spare bedroom that's not going to be full of junk. It'll have that TV in it. And I'm not going to have a bed, though. I'm going to put like a love seat in there. And I've got a couple of movie theater chairs that are bolted together on a metal frame. And this actually I got at Pepsi. It was like a gift from Pepsi. At Christmas party they had one year, but so on the back of the chairs it says Dr. Pepper on the headrest part, but they're just old school, nothing special. They're not like the movie theater chairs nowadays. This is like movie theater chairs from the 70s, 80s, and
Yeah.
90s, you know what I'm saying? They're just, but still it's pretty cool. So I've got that, and that'll be in that room.
Cool movie room.
Yeah, spare movie room for DVDs, and I use an HD DVD player to upscale my thing to that television to watch standard DVDs. I don't have any of my HD DVDs anymore. I got rid of all those, but I do play regular DVDs in it. And I've got a 360 hooked up to it and a PS3 hooked up to it, so that's kind of cool.
Hey. Sounds like a good night to me.
Yeah, I don't use it much anymore because of this whole 4K setup I got going on. But when I move, I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that I keep that room accessible and for, doing certain things in. And then I'll still have my little 4K area and my vintage tube TVs, with old systems hooked up to those. And then the bigger 1080p set in the living room will be the same. Although I may get an 88-inch television 4K set at some point. I was going to do it right when I moved, but I've had to spend so much money lately that I don't know that I'm going to do that now. Plus, I'm not sure. The model is if anybody listening, or we're down to 2 viewers now, but if anybody watches this later wants to DM me if they know, this is a LG model, and it uses the screen is the one that like they use in a lot of phones and sometimes on laptops. So you get even at a 90-degree angle, you get a perfect picture. It doesn't fade out like most televisions, high def TVs do, even from the side, the display panel. But I don't think it's not like the high quality that an OLED is, or even a QLED that Samsung puts out. But but anyway, it's one of those where you can get as far off to the side as you want. But I got to make sure that it's truly 4K. And I don't trust companies, it says 4K on the box, but I got to make sure it really is. And does it have 2.1 on the HDMI? If they don't have 2.1, I'm not buying it.
Oh yeah, I think. Well,
I'm pretty sure I've looked at it in Sam's Club, and it's like $1,500 for an 88-inch 4K TV with HDR. So it probably don't have Dolby Vision, but it's got HDR, which is fine. I don't need HDR 10 plus. I don't need Dolby Vision. I just HDR, because for movies I don't care that much for HDR, because when the movie's filmed, it's not filmed with HDR in mind. Whatever colors you see on that's what it's meant.
right.
And then now to make these TVs sell, they make them pop and with high dynamic range. And I do admit some things look really great with it, and other things I don't think look so great. So I don't use it on everything. Sometimes I'll just go and change all my settings and have it on, and I'll watch some of a particular movie with it on, and I'll go watch it with it not on. And I tend to like stuff not to pop like that. I like it to look like it would look at a movie theater. So games, however, is a different story. Yeah, HDR in games is cool.
Oh yeah. Well, they're designed that way too.
Yeah, but again, that's why if you buy a television, you want to make sure it's got that HDMI 2.1. That pretty much future proofs you, because then that'll allow you to up to 10 nits or whatever brightness for future stuff. Even if your TVs now don't do that,
Right.
but gaming systems will, and there'll be copies on disc of movies that will, but your TV won't. But you'll be able through 2.1. It'll be transmitted, but yeah. But that's I think the most important future thing for your TVs to have that 2.1. I've been told that anyway. I watched that one guy that does that. Stop the FOMO. I don't even know what his name is, but he's good. Talks about TVs, and he's really kind of high on Xbox on all the stuff they do to work with manufacturers of TVs and stuff, and to get the best gaming experience on them. And he's
Sure.
I don't know if you've ever seen any of his shows.
I haven't. Yeah, but I should definitely check them out.
Yeah, he's pretty interesting. In fact, last year's TVs, he was the one saying, "Don't buy these. They're not improvements of the year before, because they're so close to going to something totally new," and they really are. That those models that came out in even in 2018, and really bad in 2019, they got worse. They wasn't improved. And the early models of 2020 were the same way. They just didn't. They wasn't getting better. You were either getting the same as the previous year, which you could still buy much cheaper, and that's what he was getting at. It was like they always do that when they're about to go to a new technology, and they all are. Now they're going to those that uses millions of LEDs, or whatever you want to call them, micro LEDs. They got different names for the various systems, but 5 years from now, nobody's going to be buying a straight up OLED, or nobody's going to be buying a QLED. They're going to be buying these newer technology TVs, and these manufacturers all know that now. So they're not putting any new tech in their top of the line models anymore. So you're just getting the same TV from the year before, but they've jacked up the price. It's kind of shitty practices, but yeah.
Yeah. I hate when they do that. That's one of my biggest frustrations with most manufacturers when they do that.
Yeah, I think it'll be a couple of years before you get all those new innovations. So if you've got a good TV now, just ride it out. I wouldn't even buy a 2020 model. Maybe by next year there'll be some that have all the features. It seems like everybody has something that's not perfect about even their best
Oh
model.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, even the OLEDs, which have like the great black levels and stuff, they don't get bright enough. So you can't watch them in bright rooms. They don't look nearly as good as a Samsung QLED. They just don't. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody talks how great OLEDs are, and they are. But you got to control the lighting for. I'm talking movies.
Right.
For gaming, it's fine, I guess. But I like my games to pop. That's why I said HDR is great for gaming, and I think games look better on the Samsung TVs than they do on OLEDs. OLEDs, you get a better movie, and I'm a movie guy, but OLEDs can also get burned in, and I'm just paranoid about.
They are also they don't last as long as regular
And they've
TV.
gotten better about the burn in and stuff, but just I don't trust them, so
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I'm just gonna wait till whatever.
For the price they cost, they shouldn't have any issues like that, in my opinion. But
Yeah, my thing for any television, I basically just when I need one and I got to get one, then I try to buy the best I can afford at whatever given time. So that's kind of what I go by. Like even this Samsung I got, it wasn't their highest end model. It was their one below that. And the only difference is I didn't get the full mine's not what they call fully backlit. And I didn't mind that because I watch the majority of my stuff in a darkened room, so I didn't need it fully backlit. And I don't care about 90-degree the angles. I sit right in front of my television, so
yeah, I'm the same way.
and that was the difference between the 9 and the 8 series. The year I bought this, the 9 had the full backlit, and but it wasn't just a little. If it'd been a little bit more, I would have bought it, but it was a lot more. I mean, it was like $1,000 more, for a 55-inch TV, and I bought a 55-inch 8 series Samsung, and the 9 series was like $1,000 more, and I'm like, it was more than $1,000 more. This was $1,000. It was actually just under $1,000. It was like $960 or $70 with tax, and the one series above it was like $2,100 plus tax. I'm like, fuck. But what was weird, the 7 and the 6 series was only a couple $100 cheaper than mine, so it made it kind of easy to move up from those. But yeah, I've been more than happy with it. I got a curved one, which does nothing for your picture quality. It does nothing to make anything better. It's just cool. I just like it because curved picture for movies just makes it feel better or cooler. I'd love to get like a big one, like an 88-inch, but I don't think they do the curved in that large. I'm not even sure if they're doing the curved anymore. Once I got
sure they are.
looking at TVs because I don't want to get jealous of newer models. But
yeah,
I have seen some
better.
big ones. I have a Sam's Club membership, and every time I go in there, I see 2 or 3 different 88-inch models. And I'm like, fuck, that's 18 inches bigger than mine. That's for television, 18 inches is huge. Hell, from 55 to 70, that's 15 inches is what going from my living room or from my gaming setup here to the one in the living room. And it makes that 70-inch seem humongous. But it's only 1080p, so that's why I still watch the majority of my crap on my 4K in here. But sometimes I want to watch something big, so I just roll into the living room and throw it in. And although my DVD player died recently, I think I told you last week that I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't bought a new one yet. I'm gonna get that all region free player.
Right, because the one that they sent you was actually like a 2, region 2 or something.
Yeah. Or it's A, B, and C, and they sent me a region B DVD or Blu-ray.
Right. I'm sorry, it's the lettering.
DVDs, it's 0 through 9, and Blu-rays A, B, and C. And thank God 4K is region free. Just like Xbox is now region free. I guess
That's good.
PS4 is region free too, right? Yeah, it's region free.
Oh yeah, it is. It definitely is. I buy a lot of games, like from these indie companies.
I think they
You know, like,
had to because of if you're gonna sell shit digitally online, it made sense to.
yeah,
But I guess
no.
even digitally, they could have still blocked those off and just said, no, if you're not in that region, you can't buy it. But
Well, I know the Switch is fully region free too, and what's
yeah,
cool about that is you can actually create a Japanese account and download the Japanese games.
yeah, but
Yeah,
you shouldn't have to create the account. You should just be able to download them.
I know.
But
Well,
at least you can play them. That's the important part.
yeah, and creating an account is really easy. I mean, it literally gives you the option to switch between them at any given time. So it's like, at least on the Switch, it's just ridiculously simple. Um, I mean, yeah, it would be nice to be able to do it in one shot, with one login and everything. But like I said, any you could just switch right away when you select the eShop, so it works out. Um, yeah, but I'm just glad that they did it that way because, like I said, I was able to get a lot of stuff like overseas, in Europe and Japan, that either haven't been released in the U.S. or they released in the U.S. but they're not physical. I like physical. That's just me. So, like it's great. It just works out, and I hope this is a thing now for all the systems going forth. I hope they don't ever roll back.
No, I don't think they
So,
will.
but yeah, so interesting to see. I'm hoping that the PS5 is still region. I'm sure it will be. I mean, if
Yeah,
it's
it is.
Ultra, it
No,
is.
I
Yeah, it
already
has
know.
to be.
Yeah.
So there it is. So awesome.
All right, we need to. It's probably time to get off here. We're hitting that 2 hour point. No, yeah.
Maybe.
We started at 7:30, so 8:30, 9:30.
Yeah, we're at 2.5 hours.
Oh yeah, we're past 2 hours. So sweet. That's good. Yeah. We hit only one person's watching now, so whoever you are, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but I think we had a high of 4. I don't know if it ever got to 5. I don't always pay attention to that. I know at one point I did just happen to look up and was like, oh shit, there's 4 people watching. Cool. But yeah, we went on too long. YouTube's so-called analytics and stuff, which they talked a lot about that on that show today with the I can't think of his name. He's a Windows Central guy, but Miles something, Dimpier, Dompier, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, they were talking about that, about how long your video should be, and I'm like, well, this ain't a video; it's a podcast. But
Podcasts have like more leeway because it's just really
yeah,
sound, and people don't have to watch. They can just listen while they're doing whatever. I mean, it's when I'm working during the day, if I'm not on the phone,
well,
which
if the show's good, I don't mind them ones that even run like 3 hours. But if they're not good, then yeah, I can't.
yeah,
Sometimes
no,
I just
sure,
cut it off.
absolutely, there's a limit. So, but either way, but hey, it was a good talking again. Good week. Thank you for everybody who watched and who will watch in the future. And yeah,
Yeah, we'll see everybody next week, and that's about it. They can catch the show later on YouTube, and you can find me on Twitter at mojo_blues1.
yep. And I'm Grey Wolf Gamer 1, no spaces, on Twitter as well. So feel free to message me or message Mojo and
Yeah,
about anything. We're
exactly.
cool. So
So again,
awesome.
thanks everybody, and somebody in our chat said, "Ugh, fuck, yeah, stop." Yeah, so
Yeah,
that might have been our
yeah,
last guy, but that was back at 9:29. So he might still be the one watching. Cool on him if he is. He ain't cool. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Walker, but whatever. Anyway, I'm ending broadcast, everybody. So thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all next week.
yeah. Have a great night. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you, Mojo.